10 a.m. at the manor. Ethan and Jessica were eating breakfast when suddenly a phone call came in. Ethan picked up his iPhone, saw it was an unknown number, and answered. "Hello? Who is this?" Ethan asked politely. "It's me." Sarah's soft voice came from the other end. Because Ethan and Jessica had both blocked her on WhatsApp, she had no choice but to use Olivia's iPhone to call Ethan. "Sarah, what do you want?" Ethan recognized her voice, and his tone instantly turned cold. Jessica, sitting beside him quietly eating her breakfast, also silently put down her chopsticks upon hearing Sarah's name. Then she looked up, listening to their conversation. "Ethan, can you come out so we can talk properly?" Sarah requested. Her voice no longer held its usual arrogance. Instead, it carried a hint of pleading. "I don't have time. If you want to talk, just say it over the phone." Ethan frowned, clearly reluctant to deal with her. "Ethan, I'm begging you, please come out. Let's talk face to face just once. If you don't come out, I'll go to Jessica's place to find you." Sarah sounded insistent, as if she had made up her mind to see Ethan today, no matter what. Ethan paused for a moment, then nodded slightly. "Fine. Send me the location later. I'll head over." He thought for a moment. After all, this was between him and Sarah. If Sarah came to the manor and caused a scene, it wouldn't be good for Jessica's reputation. "Okay, great. I'll send it right away." Hearing Ethan agree, Sarah's voice filled with relief and happiness. After hanging up, she immediately sent the location. "Are you going out later?" Jessica turned her head, her bright, shimmering eyes looking at him. "Yeah." Ethan nodded slightly, then asked, "Do you want to come?" Jessica's eyes lit up, and she nodded immediately. "Yes." 11 a.m. in a quiet, deserted park somewhere. "Olivia, do you think Ethan will get back together with me this time?" Sarah and Olivia were sitting together on a public bench by the path. Right then, Sarah was biting her lip lightly, her face filled with anxiety. Olivia patted her shoulder and comforted her softly. "Sarah, try not to worry too much. Let's just talk to Ethan properly this time. Remember, whatever you do, don't lose your temper." Olivia advised patiently, knowing Sarah had a fiery temper. She was genuinely afraid that when Ethan arrived, Sarah wouldn't be able to hold back and would explode like a Texas tornado. If that happened, Ethan would definitely refuse to reconcile. "Okay, I know." Sarah nodded firmly. She had already resolved to control her temper, no matter what Ethan said to her later. "Sarah, look, they're here." Olivia suddenly pointed towards a young man and woman walking slowly towards them in the distance. The young man and woman were, indeed, Ethan and Jessica. The two walked side by side and, moments later, arrived in front of them. "Ethan, Jessica, you're here." Sarah stood up, looking at Ethan and Jessica before her, a slightly awkward smile on her face as she greeted them first. "Just say what you want to say." Ethan couldn't be bothered with pleasantries and got straight to the point. Seeing Ethan's impatient expression, Sarah bit her lip before speaking softly. "Ethan, I was wrong. I'm sorry. Please forgive me, okay? Let's get back together." Sarah lifted her large, pleading eyes, looking pitifully at Ethan. Now, she no longer had that bossy, high-and-mighty attitude from before. Instead, she seemed almost humble. "Sarah, I never thought I'd see the day you apologized to me." Ethan let out a cold laugh, looking at her. Honestly, he was somewhat surprised. In the 7 years they'd been together, this was the first time Sarah had ever apologized to him. Before, Sarah had acted like a pampered miss around him. It had always been Ethan apologizing to her. Getting Sarah to admit she was wrong was practically impossible. He never expected that after the trial separation, Sarah would actually apologize to him. "Ethan, I really know I was wrong. Please forgive me, okay? Let's get back together." Hearing Ethan's sarcastic remarks, Sarah seemed somewhat embarrassed. After all, when had she ever lowered her head before Ethan in the past? But now, she was no longer the Miss Ethan had cherished and spoiled. So, at this moment, she could only continue to humble herself and plead with Ethan. "Ethan, let's get back together. I really know I was wrong. And I'm pregnant. Our child can't be without a father, without a home. Come back, please. I promise I'll never lose my temper randomly again." Sarah touched her belly, continuing her soft-voiced, earnest plea. Olivia also stood up and quickly chimed in. "That's right, Ethan. Sarah's carrying your child. She really needs someone to take care of her right now. She knows she was wrong. Just forgive her. She's pregnant. She can't be alone without care. The child needs a father too. You're the man. You have to take responsibility as the father." Looking at the two women tag-teaming him, Ethan sighed softly. Gazing at his former wife, his attitude remained indifferent. "Sarah, if you knew it would come to this, why did you act that way back then? You want to reconcile? Sorry, there's no going back for us." On the day Sarah insisted on divorcing him over $1 million, he had completely given up on this trial separation. And he had completely given up on Sarah, the woman he had loved for 7 years. Now, all he wanted was to completely cut ties with Sarah, preferably to never have anything to do with her ever again. Ethan, I really regret it. I regret the trial separation. Please don't be like this, okay? Let's get back together. Let's go back to how things were. Seeing Ethan's unmoved, indifferent expression, Sarah finally panicked completely. She had originally thought that as long as she was willing to humble herself, Ethan would still consider reconciling with her. After all, they had been together for 7 years. They had that much history. Plus, she was pregnant now. Ethan shouldn't be so heartless as to abandon her and the child. But now, even though she had lowered herself and admitted her mistake, Ethan showed no sign of softening. This made her truly desperate. If Ethan wouldn't remarry her, what would she do in the future? After the baby was born? If it was Ethan's, fine, but what if it wasn't? How could she raise alone? Would she have to find a fallback option? Someone to take responsibility? Sarah, give it up. It's impossible between us. Ethan looked at her calmly and rejected her request for reconciliation without a second thought. You were the one who wanted the trial separation. Regret it now? Too late. Watching Sarah, the woman he once loved to the bone, now desperately begging him to take her back, Ethan felt nothing inside, not even a ripple. In fact, he almost wanted to laugh. Ethan, I really know I was wrong. I truly regret it now. Please forgive me. Let's go back to how things were, okay? Seeing Ethan wouldn't budge, Sarah grew anxious, grabbing one of his hands, her face a picture of pitiful pleading. Witnessing this, Jessica, standing beside Ethan, frowned slightly, her expression darkening with displeasure. Sarah, we can't go back. Just give up on that idea, Ethan said mercilessly, pulling his hand free from Sarah's grasp. Seeing this, Jessica's knitted brows relaxed, and the corners of her mouth turned up slightly. Ethan, you've changed. You've really changed. You don't love me at all anymore. Shaken off, Sarah stared at the cold, unfeeling Ethan before her, feeling only a sense of strangeness. The Ethan of the past couldn't bear to see her suffer the slightest grievance. But now, even when she humbled herself like this, begging for reconciliation, Ethan remained unmoved. Despair instantly flooded Sarah's heart. Ethan didn't love her anymore, not one bit. At this moment, Sarah felt both heartbroken and helpless. I changed a long time ago. You're only realizing it today? Sarah, we're divorced. I stopped loving you long ago. You need to face reality. Ethan scoffed lightly. He once loved Sarah with such sincerity and passion, fighting desperately to give her happiness. But what happened? Taking his affection for granted, Sarah increasingly disregarded his feelings, treating his kindness as her due, as if it were only natural. She recklessly trampled on his love. Now she regrets it and wants him to love her again. Sorry, Ethan was done loving her. Laura patted Sarah's shoulder comfortingly before turning back to Ethan, trying again to persuade him. Ethan, look, Sarah knows she was wrong. As a man, you should be more magnanimous. Just forgive her. Don't forget, she's carrying your child in her belly. The child. Ethan glanced coldly at Sarah's stomach, speaking flatly. We don't even know for sure if this child is mine. He paused, then added, and I've said it before, if the child is born and it's mine, I'll raise it. If it's not mine, then it has nothing to do with me. Ethan, what are you saying? Of course, this child is yours, Laura said patiently. Stop throwing a tantrum with Sarah. Get back together quickly. It's better for the child. Ethan looked at Laura, then at the tearful, wronged Sarah. He couldn't help but shake his head and chuckle humorlessly. You two sisters, really birds of a feather, aren't you? Still trying to use the baby to trap me. Let me tell you, whether the baby is mine or not, I will not remarry her. Of course, if the child is mine, I'll support it. But that's only after the child is born and we've done a paternity test. Until then, it has nothing to do with me, Ethan stated bluntly, his attitude unyielding. Ethan, this child really is yours. Sarah genuinely knows she was wrong this time. You're a grown man. Don't be so petty with her. Just get back together. Laura seemed to be losing patience, frowning now, clearly annoyed. Petty. Ethan looked at Laura's entitled expression, utterly speechless. Laura, she was the one who asked for the trial separation. Now, I'm the petty one? You two really are best friends forever, huh? Ethan, Sarah only wanted a trial separation. She never really wanted to divorce you. She still loves you in her heart. Loves me. Ethan glanced at Sarah's pitiful face and sneered. Sorry, I don't see any love for me in her. She's not begging me to get back together because she loves me. She's doing it because she's afraid the child will be born without a father. She doesn't know she was wrong. She just knows she's scared. Ethan stated frankly, directly exposing Sarah's true thoughts. Hearing Ethan speak so bluntly, Sarah's face instantly turned pale. Because he was right. If she weren't pregnant, she wouldn't have even considered reconciling with Ethan. But now that she was pregnant, she could only swallow her pride and ask Ethan to take her back. Ethan, I really know I was wrong. Please forgive me. Let's get back together. Let's go back to how we were. Give the child a home together, okay? Sarah quickly pleaded, her voice soft and begging. As she spoke, she stepped forward, seemingly wanting to grab Ethan's hand again. Sarah, how many times do I have to tell you? We can't go back. Ethan shook his head, finally losing his patience. He stepped back, increasing the distance between them. Seeing Ethan retreat, Sarah froze, apparently not expecting him to be so heartless. Looking at Sarah's slightly stunned expression, Ethan couldn't be bothered wasting any more words on her. Forget it. I don't think there's any point in talking further. Let's leave it at this for today. When the child is born, let me know so I can get the paternity test. And don't look for me again. Just seeing you makes me sick. With those parting words, Ethan turned and walked away. Jessica glanced at the two women before turning and leaving as well. Sarah remained frozen on the spot, Ethan's last words echoing in her mind. The current Ethan not only didn't love her anymore, but he actually found her disgusting. Utter despair consumed her heart. The Ethan who used to dote on her so much, had he really reached the point where the mere sight of her disgusted him? A wave of desolate sorrow washed over Sarah at the thought. Ethan, how could you do this? Are you even a man? You won't even take responsibility for the child? Do you have any sense of duty at all? Laura yelled indignantly at Ethan's retreating back. However, Ethan completely ignored her, leaving directly with Jessica. After a moment of impotent rage, Laura turned back to Sarah, only to see her face deathly pale, her eyes vacant, as if her soul had been drained from her body. Sarah, are you okay? Laura asked quickly, concerned. Sarah turned her head somewhat numbly towards Laura, an overwhelming sense of grievance welling up inside her. Laura, sob, what am I going to do now? The thought of a miserable future without Ethan, raising the child alone, filled Sarah with despair. Her legs suddenly felt weak, and she almost couldn't stand. Sarah, don't panic, don't cry. Laura supported her, comforting her patiently. Sarah, the baby isn't born yet. What if it really is Ethan's? Don't be too pessimistic yet. But what if it isn't? A mist clouded Sarah's eyes, tears threatening to spill. Well, Laura was suddenly speechless, unsure how to respond. That was true. If it wasn't Ethan's child, and Ethan refused to care for them, what would they do? Sarah, don't worry yet. Didn't you say there's a 50-50 chance it's Ethan's? We haven't lost yet. As long as this child is Ethan's, the connection between you two won't be broken. There's still a chance you could get back together in the future, Laura reasoned earnestly. Hearing her words, a faint trace of color returned to Sarah's pale face. Right, the baby isn't born yet. We don't know for sure if it's Ethan's. I can't give up now. As long as this child exists, the connection between me and Ethan isn't severed. We might still have a chance together in the future. Sarah tried to reassure herself, feeling slightly better. She managed to gather a sliver of strength. After leaving the park, Ethan and Jessica didn't head straight back to the manor. Instead, they went downtown to the Green Valley Mall. They grabbed milkshakes, bought some clothes, and snacked on some street food. Jessica rarely indulged in street food, but when she was with Ethan, all her principles went out the window. Whatever he ate, she wanted to try too. She turned into quite the foodie around him. After about half an hour, content, they finally returned to the manor. As soon as they got back, Ethan changed clothes and headed to the fitness center to continue his workout. He was committed to his discipline and wouldn't slack off. Jessica, meanwhile, grabbed a bag of chips and settled onto the sofa in the fitness center, binge-watching a show while keeping Ethan company. After watching her show for a while, Jessica found her gaze drifting towards Ethan. He was already starting to sweat, his short-sleeved shirt gradually becoming soaked and clinging to his skin, revealing the defined lines of his muscles underneath. Jessica found herself unable to look away. Suddenly, her show seemed far less interesting, especially when Ethan, sweating profusely and finding the clinging shirt uncomfortable, simply pulled it off. Instantly, Jessica's eyes widened. She practically drooled, staring intently, wishing she could reach out and touch him. 30 minutes later, Ethan finished his workout routine for the day, walked over to Jessica, and plopped down onto the sofa beside her. He was drenched in sweat, collapsing onto the sofa, utterly exhausted. Here, drink some water. Jessica handed Ethan a bottle of mineral water she had ready. Ethan took it and gulped down a large mouthful. Jessica picked up the towel she'd also prepared and started dabbing the sweat from him. Ethan didn't mind. During the time he'd been working out, Jessica had pretty much always wiped his sweat afterward. He was used to it. Jessica held the towel, wiping the sweat from Ethan's upper body. Seeing the smooth lines of his muscles right before her eyes, she felt that familiar craving again. She had often wiped sweat for Ethan before, but previously, he hadn't taken his shirt off like this in front of her, nor had he so openly displayed his abs. So, when she wiped his sweat before, she could only reach his face and neck. She never had the chance to touch areas like his pecs and abs, and she wouldn't have dared reach under his shirt anyway. But now, Ethan's chest and abs were bare right in front of her, within arm's reach. Jessica couldn't resist. She involuntarily reached out a slender finger and gently poked him. It felt firm. Nice. Jessica's eyes instantly lit up, and the corners of her mouth couldn't help but curve into a smile. Having gotten a taste, Jessica didn't push her luck. Feeling a bit guilty, she quickly looked up to check Ethan's reaction. Seeing he was still resting and hadn't reacted, she relaxed, her courage growing. She placed her whole palm flat against his abs and gave them a gentle squeeze. The sensation that shot through her at that moment made Jessica's eyes widen further. A gleam of delight sparkled within them, her gaze shimmering. "What are you doing?" This time, Ethan finally reacted, lifting his head to look at her quizzically. "Ahem," Jessica answered guiltily. "My hand slipped." "Oh, really?" Ethan gave her a dubious glance, but didn't pursue it, settling back onto the sofa to rest. He didn't notice, however, the faint blush that had crept onto Jessica's pretty face. Seeing Ethan hadn't pressed the issue, Jessica quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Not daring any further ideas, she focused on wiping his sweat. Just you wait. Once I finally win you over, I'll touch these muscles whenever I want." Jessica thought silently to herself as she continued wiping his sweat. 10 p.m. The night was tranquil. In the spacious, luxurious room, Ethan lay on his floor mattress, idly scrolling through social media. Jessica, wearing pink silk pajamas, lay on the soft, large bed, applying a face mask. Ring ring. Suddenly a call came in. Ethan saw the caller ID read Sis and was slightly surprised. The caller was indeed his younger sister, Jenna Thompson, a junior in college. She rarely called him. "Hey, bro, Margaret said you're coming home with me. Is that true?" A cheerful, sweet voice came through the iPhone after he answered. Ethan suddenly remembered. 2 weeks ago, he told his parents that once his sister started her summer break, he'd come home with her to visit them. "Yeah, have you started your summer break yet?" Ethan asked. "Almost. I finish next Tuesday, so you can come pick me up then." "Oh, okay then. I'll pick you up next Tuesday, and we'll head back together." "Okay, great. Got it." The siblings didn't talk for long before hanging up the iPhone. "You're leaving next Tuesday?" As soon as Ethan put down his iPhone, he heard Jessica's voice from the bed. He turned his head and saw Jessica gazing at him, a hint of nervousness in her expression. The face mask had slipped off her face, but Jessica didn't seem to notice, simply staring intently at him. "Yeah, I'm going back with my sister next Tuesday." Ethan nodded. "Then, when will you be back?" Jessica bit her lip, asking reluctantly. Even though she knew Ethan would only be gone for a few days, she still hated the thought of him leaving. Ethan thought for a moment. "About a week, I guess." "That long?" Jessica's eyes widened slightly, a flicker of disappointment showing. She had assumed he'd only be gone for 3 or 4 days, not a whole week. The thought of not seeing Ethan for a week made her heart ache. Suddenly, she felt an emptiness inside, a pang of sadness. "Can't be helped. I haven't been home in a long time. Since I'm finally making the trip, I should spend some quality time with my parents," Ethan said helplessly. "All right then." Jessica pouted slightly, resigned to the fact that Ethan would be gone for a week. Ethan remembered something and asked, "Oh, by the way, do you happen to have a less expensive car I could borrow? I need something to drive back home." Previously, whenever he went back, he drove his old, modest commuter car. Now that he and Sarah were divorced, Ethan didn't plan on keeping that car. Besides, it was 3 years old, had needed major repairs a few times, and wasn't worth much anymore. And now that Jessica had bought him a Rolls-Royce, he certainly wasn't concerned about his old car. The only headache was that he couldn't possibly drive the Rolls-Royce back to his parents' place, because he hadn't told his parents about the divorce or his current situation with Jessica. If he showed up a Rolls-Royce, he wouldn't know how to explain it. A cheaper car? Jessica Smith thought for a moment. "I'll go buy one tomorrow." She had a dozen cars in her garage, but every single one cost between several million and $25 million. None of them fit what Ethan was looking for. If he wanted something cheaper, she'd just have to buy one. That won't be necessary." Ethan paused, taken aback, then declined Jessica Smith's kind offer. He just wanted to drive a less conspicuous car home. That way, he could tell his family he'd rented it. Jessica offering to just buy one felt far too extravagant to him. Even though the money meant nothing to Jessica Smith, for Ethan, it was completely unnecessary. Having Jessica Smith buy him a car just for a trip home? He might as well just rent one himself. Why waste all that money? They didn't talk for much longer. Ethan soon started feeling sleepy. So, they turned off the lights and went to bed. Ethan laid down on a makeshift bed on the floor and fell asleep almost immediately. But Jessica Smith, lying in the bed, couldn't sleep at all. She lay on her side, gazing through the darkness at the sleeping Ethan, her eyes full of reluctance to let him go. In 2 weeks, you'll be going back, and I won't see you for a whole week. Jessica Smith murmured softly, her voice tinged with sadness. She was sleepless that night. Tuesday dawned bright and clear, without a cloud in the sky. In the morning, at the manor, after breakfast, Ethan prepared to head home. Jessica Smith walked Ethan to the door, watching him get into the car, her eyes filled with longing. Soon, Ethan drove away. Jessica Smith stood alone outside, watching the car speed off, long after it disappeared at the end of the road. Her gaze remained fixed, watching intently. "Miss, sir's long gone. Shall we go back inside?" Robert Lewis had appeared behind Jessica Smith at some point, gently reminding her with a hint of resignation. Hearing him, Jessica Smith finally, reluctantly, pulled her gaze away. She glanced at him, then let her head droop. "Robert, do you think Ethan will miss me?" Seeing her dejected state, Robert Lewis gave a helpless smile. "Of course, miss. Sir will certainly miss you. Really." But his words failed to cheer Jessica Smith up. Recalling how eager Ethan had seemed to leave just moments before, she felt certain he wouldn't miss her. After all, in Ethan's eyes, they were just in a trial separation. Why would he miss his fake wife? The thought that Ethan would be absent from her life for the next week made Jessica Smith feel as if her soul had been drained, leaving her listless and uninterested in anything. Meanwhile, Ethan was already on his way home, driving the rented car. "Bro, this isn't your usual car, is it?" Jenna Thompson asked from the passenger seat, looking the car over curiously. "That's right, this one's rented." Ethan explained, "After Sarah and I divorced, I didn't plan on keeping the old one." "Oh, I see." Jenna Thompson nodded, her expression clearing with understanding. She'd already heard about her brother's divorce from their parents, so it wasn't much of a surprise. "Bro, you absolutely did the right thing divorcing her. I couldn't stand seeing you act like such a simp around Sarah. I've been putting up with that gold digger for ages," Jenna Thompson said with wholehearted approval. She had disliked her sister-in-law, Sarah, for a long time. A gold digger who bossed her brother around like he was her lapdog. Of course, she wasn't happy about it. "Ahem, what simp? Watch your mouth, will you?" Ethan coughed, embarrassed. Being called a simp by his own sister made him lose face. Though, admittedly, he had acted quite a bit like one before. But she didn't have to be so blunt about it. "TCH, you were a simp. You simped over Sarah for years, and now I can't even mention it." Jenna Thompson pouted, looking at him scornfully. Growing up, she had always thought her brother was pretty amazing. Until Sarah came along. That completely shattered the idolized image she had of Ethan. "All right, let's drop it." Ethan felt a headache coming on and quickly changed the subject. "What about you? Dating anyone at school?" "Me? Nope," Jenna Thompson replied. "Really? No one's chasing after you at school?" Ethan looked at her skeptically. Jenna Thompson was quite attractive, both in looks and figure. How could a girl like that not have guys pursuing her in college? Okay, fine. There is one guy pursuing me, but I turned him down." "Why? Was he too ugly?" "No. He used to be a total simp for my roommate. I don't like simps." They chatted along the way, and before they knew it, 2 hours had passed. The car drove into a small village nestled in the hills. This was Ethan's hometown, Willow Creek Village. An ordinary little village with a few dozen families, nestled amidst picturesque green hills and clear waters. Shortly after, the car pulled up in front of a modest 2-story house. "Dad, Mom, we're home." Jenna Thompson jumped out of the car and eagerly ran straight into the house. Ethan watched her go, shaking his head with a helpless smile. Just then, a middle-aged couple heard the commotion outside and came out. "Dad, Mom, I'm back." Ethan looked at his parents, their figures now slightly stooped, and suddenly felt an urge to cry. He hadn't been back in so long. Their aged, weathered faces seemed to have gained more wrinkles since he last saw them. They looked older than he remembered. "Ah, it's good you're back, good you're back." Looking at Ethan, his parents were visibly moved, their weathered faces breaking into long absent smiles. Knowing the siblings were coming home today, their parents had prepared a meal well in advance. Here, Jenna, eat more. Look how thin you've gotten. Mom, that's too much. I can't eat all that. Are you trying to fatten me up like a pig? It's not much. You used to eat 3 big bowls. This is nothing compared to that. Here, son, you eat more too. That's right, son. You haven't been back in ages. Have more of your mom's cooking. She's been looking forward to this every day since she knew you were coming. At the dinner table, their parents kept piling food onto the siblings' plates. There weren't many dishes, and it wasn't extravagant, just simple, home-cooked food. Although it couldn't compare to the lavish meals at Jessica Smith's place, Ethan ate with genuine happiness. Because this was the taste of home. 12 o'clock noon in the manor. Jessica Smith sat on the sofa, staring blankly into space out of boredom. Miss, Robert Lewis asked me to prepare a glass of orange juice for you. Just then, a housekeeper approached carrying a glass of orange juice, respectfully placing it on the table. Oh, Jessica Smith merely glanced at the orange juice, showing no further reaction. She didn't seem to want it. Not far away, Robert Lewis watched this scene, a helpless look on his face. Ever since Ethan had left 2 hours ago, it was as if he'd taken Jessica Smith's soul with him. She seemed utterly listless, unable to muster enthusiasm for anything. Robert Lewis shook his head with a wry smile. Ethan was only gone for a week, not forever. Why was his miss acting like she'd just been heartbroken? Young newlyweds indeed. They couldn't bear being apart, even for the first day. Robert Lewis sighed softly and turned to leave. Jessica Smith remained on the sofa. Right now, her world felt drained of color, utterly meaningless. She didn't understand why she felt this way. Before she and Ethan were married, she had managed perfectly fine when he wasn't around. But now, after spending some time together, she couldn't stand it, even though he'd only been gone for a little over 2 hours. Knowing Ethan was leaving, she had actually prepared herself. To ward off boredom, she'd stocked up on plenty of TV shows, planning to binge-watch them to pass the time after he left. But now, she had absolutely no desire to watch anything. She didn't feel like it at all. If Ethan were here, he'd probably be heading to the fitness center about now. Jessica Smith murmured softly. Usually, at this time, Ethan would be diligently working out in the fitness center, and she would always be there, keeping him company. Thinking of this, for some reason, Jessica Smith got up and left the manor. As if guided by an unseen force, she found herself heading towards the fitness center. It wasn't until she stood at the entrance that Jessica Smith snapped back to reality. Why had she come here? Ethan wasn't here now. Coming to the fitness center alone wouldn't let her see him. Even though she knew she wouldn't see Ethan, Jessica Smith couldn't stop herself from pushing open the doors to the fitness center and stepping inside. The fitness center was empty and very quiet, devoid of people, feeling somewhat deserted. The thought that Ethan used to exercise here every day, but today his figure was nowhere to be seen, left an empty ache in Jessica Smith's heart. She walked slowly inside and sat down on the lounge sofa in the center of the room. Most days she would sit here, keeping Ethan company while he worked out. Whenever Ethan got tired, he would come here to rest, sitting right beside her. And every time, she would promptly hand him a bottle of mineral water and wipe the sweat from his brow. Then, she'd seize the opportunity to get a little closer. Recalling the moments she and Ethan had spent here together, a faint smile touched Jessica Smith's lips. But soon, realizing Ethan was gone, the smile vanished from her face, replaced by a look of melancholy. Sigh. Jessica Smith sighed softly, looking around the empty fitness center, wishing Ethan hadn't left. For the next half an hour, Jessica Smith sat in the fitness center, spacing out blankly. Because usually during this time, she would be here with Ethan. Even though Ethan wasn't here now, she still wanted to stay in the fitness center. Because besides here, she didn't know where else to go. Dusk fell, the sun setting in the west. The evening clouds painted the sky a brilliant orange red, dazzlingly beautiful. On the swing set next to the manor, Jessica Smith sat alone quietly, lost in thought. By now, there weren't many people left in the manor. It felt spacious and tranquil. Just like Jessica Smith's heart, it felt like a piece was missing, leaving an empty void. Before her separation from Ethan, well, his trip, she often came here alone to sit on the swing, thinking about him. Now, it seemed she had returned to that state. Time trickled by, and soon the sun had completely set. Jessica Smith just sat quietly on the swing, her eyes gazing blankly ahead, her expression slightly dazed. Miss, the steak dinner is ready. At some point, Robert Lewis had come up behind her, calling softly. Oh, all right. Jessica Smith snapped back to her senses, glanced at him, nodded gently, and then got up to leave. Watching Jessica Smith's somewhat frail back, looking a little lonely in the evening breeze, Robert Lewis shook his head gently, feeling rather helpless. Soon, Jessica Smith returned to the manor. The long dining table was already laden with dishes, a feast for the senses, incredibly sumptuous and fragrant. However, sitting at the table, Jessica Smith looked at the spread of delicious food but had little appetite. Like an unfeeling eating machine, she ate a few bites mechanically before getting up and heading upstairs. Sigh, it's only the first day the master is gone. Robert Louis watched Jessica Smith's retreating back and sighed helplessly. The young couple's bond was truly strong. She couldn't bear it after just the first day apart. How would his miss get through the remaining 6 days? The thought gave Robert Louis a bit of a headache. 11 o'clock at night. The night deepened. In her room, Jessica Smith lay on the soft, large bed as usual, ready to sleep. But tonight, she couldn't fall asleep no matter what. In the darkness, she turned over, lying on her side, gazing at the floor beside the bed, and couldn't help but let out a soft sigh. Usually, Ethan slept on a makeshift bed on the floor right there. All she had to do was turn over like this, and she could see him. Every time she looked at Ethan, she felt a sense of security, and she could always sleep peacefully. But tonight, there was no bedroll beside her bed, nor was there the Ethan she constantly longed for. Only the cold floor, reflecting the cool moonlight. "Ethan, I miss you so much," Jessica Smith murmured softly in the quiet room. Unfortunately, in the empty room, no one answered her. Jessica Smith felt a pang of disappointment. She turned on her back. "Just sleep. Once you're asleep, you won't think about it anymore." Jessica Smith muttered to herself and closed her eyes. However, 10 minutes later, she opened her eyes again, looking somewhat resigned. She couldn't sleep. The moment she closed her eyes, her mind was filled with Ethan. She stared at the ceiling in the darkness, but all she could think about was Ethan's face. On the first day of Ethan's departure, Jessica Smith missed him. So much. 7 in the morning, Willow Creek Village. Ethan wasn't woken by an alarm clock, but by the crowing of a golden retriever from his neighbor Alex Carter's place. He stretched languidly before getting up to wash his face and brush his teeth, then headed out for his morning run. Even though he was back in the countryside, Ethan had no intention of slacking off. He was sticking to his disciplined routine. On a certain country road, Ethan encountered many Willow Creek residents already up and heading out for farm work. Seeing Ethan running, these residents looked a bit surprised. After all, working out wasn't exactly common in the village. Ethan jogged slowly along the mountain path. As he ran, though, he felt like something was missing. It wasn't until he saw a farming couple working in their field that Ethan understood where that feeling came from. Before, whenever he went for his morning run, Jessica Smith had almost always been there beside him. He only needed to turn his head to see her lovely, stunning face. But now he was alone. No matter which way he turned, he couldn't see Jessica Smith anymore. Of course, he felt like something was missing. "I wonder what Jessica Smith is doing. She's probably still sleeping in, right?" Ethan Thompson murmured softly. Just thinking about Jessica Smith brought an unconscious smile to his lips. For the next few days, Ethan Thompson spent his time at home with his parents. During the day, he helped them with farm work in the fields, and in the evening, he rested at home. Sometimes, though, Ethan Thompson would find himself thinking about Jessica Smith. He picked up his iPhone several times, wanted to send her an iMessage, wanted to chat, but each time he couldn't figure out what to say. In the end, he could only put his iPhone down helplessly. On the other side, Jessica Smith was in a similar situation. Besides spacing out, she often picked up her iPhone, checking if Ethan Thompson had sent her an iMessage, and wanting to send one to him. But she never knew what to send or what to talk about. The only iMessage she had sent Ethan Thompson was the day after he left. She had missed him so terribly that she finally sent a message asking, "Did you make it home?" Half an hour later, Ethan Thompson replied, "He just sent back a single ya." That left Jessica Smith wanting to continue the conversation, but completely unsure how. On the morning of the 5th day, Ethan Thompson went for his usual run, jogging alone on the deserted mountain path. The feeling of emptiness in his heart felt even stronger. In the past, Jessica Smith had always accompanied him on his runs, but now, running alone, he realized he wasn't quite used to it. As he ran, Jessica Smith's face would involuntarily pop into his mind. Ethan Thompson suddenly stopped, looking at the empty road ahead. He had to admit it. He missed Jessica Smith. A little. He pulled out his iPhone, opened WhatsApp, and tapped on his chat with Jessica Smith. He started typing a message, asking if she was awake yet, but he quickly hesitated. It's so early, she might still be sleeping. Sending an iMessage now might wake her up. With that thought, Ethan Thompson deleted the message he had already typed in the chat box and put the iPhone back in his pocket. "I wonder if she misses me at all," Ethan Thompson muttered, feeling a bit lost. But he immediately shook his head. "Ethan Thompson, you're overthinking things. You guys are just on a trial separation. Why would she miss you? Ethan Thompson snapped back to reality. His relationship with Jessica Smith was just a transaction. Besides, Jessica Smith was so beautiful and incredibly wealthy. How could she possibly miss him? He was just a divorced man with no money or prospects. He might even end up with a biracial baby later on. With his circumstances, how could Jessica Smith possibly be interested? Thinking this, Ethan Thompson forcefully shook his head, trying to dislodge the inappropriate thoughts. Then, he started walking slowly back towards the village. What Ethan Thompson didn't expect was that as he reached the house next door to his, he ran into Alex Carter. Alex! Ethan Thompson was startled, seeing Alex Carter just emerging from the outhouse. Not having even pulled his pants up properly yet, he was completely taken aback. He hadn't expected Alex Carter to be back too. Ethan Thompson! Alex Carter was equally stunned, staring at Ethan Thompson in disbelief. When did you get back? Ethan Thompson glanced at Alex Carter's red underwear, then asked curiously. Me? Oh, I just got back last night. Brought my girlfriend home to visit. Alex Carter quickly pulled up his pants as he replied. Your girlfriend came back too? Yeah. Whoa, what a coincidence. I thought you were still in Green Valley. Me too. Why didn't you say anything about coming back? How was I supposed to know you were back too? After chatting for a bit, Ethan Thompson went home. He had breakfast, but since his parents were going to the next village for a banquet, Ethan Thompson didn't head out to the fields today. Around noon, Alex Carter came over with his girlfriend, suggesting the three of them go for a picnic and have an outdoor barbecue. Ethan Thompson was bored anyway, so he readily agreed. The three of them immediately drove down to the riverside and started their cookout. Here, Emily, try this fish I grilled. It's really tender. Alex Carter picked up a grilled fish and handed it to his girlfriend, Emily. Oh, let me try. Emily took a small bite, her eyes instantly lighting up with pleasant surprise. Delicious. Alex, you try some too. Emily immediately used her chopsticks to tear off a small piece of fish and offered it to Alex Carter's mouth. Alex opened his mouth, accepting her feeding with a happy expression. It really is good. I didn't know my fish grilling skills were this amazing, Alex said, also pleasantly surprised after tasting it. Ethan Thompson sat across the fire, watching the couple's public display of affection with a helpless smile. If Jessica Smith were here, she would definitely feed him grilled fish too, right? Inexplicably, Ethan Thompson thought of Jessica Smith again, and a smile couldn't help but touch his lips. Here, Ethan Thompson, try my handiwork too. Alex Carter picked up another grilled fish and handed it to Ethan Thompson. All right, let me try. Ethan Thompson took the fish and tasted it. It was indeed delicious, crispy on the outside, tender on the inside, and richly fragrant. If only Jessica Smith were here, she would probably like this flavor. The moment the thought surfaced, Ethan Thompson caught himself abruptly. Why was he thinking about Jessica Smith again? He seemed to be thinking about her quite often lately. He shook his head, forcefully pushing away all those inappropriate thoughts. Then he focused on eating the grilled fish. Ethan Thompson, what's up with you today? You seem really out of it. Alex Carter, who was fiddling with the grill, suddenly looked up at him and asked curiously. Huh, me? Oh, I wasn't thinking about anything. Ethan Thompson paused for a second, then quickly shook his head, denying it. Oh, come on. Alex Carter scoffed, pursing his lips. We grew up together, stop pretending. You've been completely out of it today. It's obvious something's on your mind. He bluntly called Ethan Thompson out. Yeah, I noticed too. You keep spacing out. Emily chimed in, nodding as she took a delicate bite of her grilled salmon steak. I wasn't really thinking about anything, just zoning out because I'm bored. Ethan Thompson felt a flicker of panic inwardly, but kept up his vehement denial. Huh. Alex Carter rolled his eyes at him and tossed out casually. You weren't thinking about your new wife, Jessica Smith, were you? Startled by the direct hit, Ethan Thompson froze mid-bite. Alex Carter's eyes instantly widened in disbelief. Whoa, no way. Did I actually guess right? Don't tell me you were really thinking about her. He'd just thrown it out there, but Ethan Thompson's reaction seemed to confirm his wild guess. Emily also wore an expression of someone avidly watching the drama unfold. Judging by Ethan Thompson's reaction, Alex Carter had hit the nail on the head. Ethan Thompson was thinking about Jessica Smith. Ahem. I was not. Don't talk nonsense. Watch it, or I'll accuse you of slander. Ethan Thompson coughed awkwardly twice, then pretended nonchalance and resumed eating. Inwardly, though, he was totally flustered. His obvious discomfort only further convinced Alex Carter and Emily that he had been thinking about Jessica Smith. He was just being too stubborn to admit it. Ethan Thompson, we grew up together. Do you really think you can fool me? Alex Carter gave him a knowing smirk, looking utterly confident he saw the truth. Yeah, even I can tell you're lying, Emily added, looking serious. Seeing they had both seen right through him, Ethan Thompson scratched his head, looking embarrassed. He finally admitted resignedly, "All right, fine. I admit I was thinking about her a little." Since he'd been exposed, Ethan Thompson couldn't hide it anymore and admitted sheepishly, "But really, just a little bit," he quickly added, afraid they'd get the wrong idea. "Oh, you've got it bad, Ethan Thompson. You're falling in love," Alex Carter teased with a laugh, putting on a mock serious air. "Ahem. What nonsense are you talking about? I told you it was just a little." Ethan Thompson felt a fresh wave of embarrassment and hurried to explain, feeling strangely exposed, as if his innermost thoughts had been laid bare. "Oh, please, Ethan Thompson," Emily scoffed, pursing her lips. "You've dated before. You've even been married. You know deep down whether you're falling for Jessica Smith or not. Do you really think you can fool us?" Ethan Thompson's defensive denials just screamed guilt, further proving he'd fallen for Jessica Smith, but was too stubborn to admit it. Emily's words made Ethan Thompson pause. "Have I really fallen for Jessica Smith? Come to think of it." He'd been thinking about her more and more lately. Back in college, when he first developed feelings for Sarah, wasn't it just like this? Constantly thinking about her, unable to control it. Realizing this, Ethan Thompson was struck by the fact that his feelings for Jessica Smith now mirrored exactly how he'd felt when he first fell for Sarah. Have I really fallen for her? He fell silent, lost in thought. Seeing Ethan Thompson's contemplative expression, Alex Carter and Emily shared a knowing smile and didn't interrupt his thoughts. It was clear now, Ethan Thompson had likely fallen for Jessica Smith. He was probably just in the early stages, not having fully processed it himself yet. After a long moment, Ethan Thompson looked up at Emily as if he'd reached a conclusion. He hesitated briefly, then asked, "Emily, Alex Carter mentioned last time that you thought Jessica Smith liked me. Is that true?" Hearing his question, both Emily and Alex Carter understood where his thoughts were headed. Emily considered for a second, then nodded. "At the time, I did get the feeling she liked you. That night you were drunk, she seemed really concerned about you. But," she continued, "Alex Carter mentioned she's supposedly against marriage, which made me uncertain. Plus, I've only met her that once. I don't really know her. So, I can't say for sure if she really likes you." Emily didn't want to make assumptions, not knowing Jessica Smith well. It wouldn't do to cause a misunderstanding if her hunch was wrong. "I see." Ethan Thompson nodded thoughtfully. Then, looking up again, he said, "Actually, Jessica Smith told me herself. She's not against marriage anymore. She said she wants to date and eventually marry now." "Jessica Smith told you that?" Alex Carter and Emily froze for a beat, then simultaneously widened their eyes, staring at Ethan Thompson in disbelief. "Pretty much," Ethan Thompson confirmed. "Ethan Thompson, what more do you need? She's totally dropping hints." Alex Carter suddenly got animated. Emily also watched Ethan Thompson intently, now feeling even more certain her initial hunch was right. "So, you think she likes me and is hinting at it?" "Ethan Thompson, I'm starting to really think she does like you," Emily analyzed enthusiastically. "Think about it. Why would she publicly claim she's marriage-averse for so long, only to tell you, right after your trial separation, that she's not anymore? She must have done that because she was afraid you'd get the wrong idea." Alex Carter nodded eagerly, unable to resist egging him on. "Yeah, Ethan Thompson, she definitely likes you. Go for it. Fortune favors the bold, man. Go all in, chase her. If you win this bet, you get the girl and the fortune. You'll be set for life." Alex Carter was genuinely thrilled now. Seeing his best friend, fresh off a failed marriage, stumble into such a blessing in disguise, a chance with an incredibly wealthy woman like Jessica Smith. It was like winning the lottery, and it had happened to Ethan Thompson. Alex Carter would genuinely feel bad for him if he let this opportunity slip by. "Do you guys really think she likes me?" Ethan Thompson felt a strange thrum of excitement in his chest, but doubt lingered. He couldn't be certain about Jessica Smith's feelings. Was it all for the inheritance, or did she genuinely care about him? "She definitely likes you," Alex Carter insisted, patting his chest confidently. "I think it's highly likely," Emily offered, more cautiously, not wanting to make absolute statements. This sent Ethan Thompson back into deep thought. One thing was clear to him now. He was developing real feelings for Jessica Smith. But her intentions? Those remained a mystery. Seeing his indecision, Emily thought for a moment and suggested, "Ethan Thompson, if you're really not sure how she feels, maybe when you get back, you could try testing the waters? See how she reacts." "Test the waters?" Ethan Thompson murmured softly, his expression thoughtful. 10 p.m. Moonlight spilled like water, bathing the night in a hazy glow. Inside his room, Ethan Thompson lay on his bed, staring at the dark ceiling, sleep completely eluding him. His mind kept replaying the words Alex Carter and Emily had said him back in Willow Creek earlier that day. "Does Jessica Smith really like me?" Ethan Thompson murmured softly, Jessica Smith's stunning face involuntarily appearing in his mind. A faint, almost imperceptible smile unconsciously touched his lips. He felt his jiao, realizing he was smiling again. Just thinking about Jessica Smith made him smile. This was what liking someone felt like. Having been in relationships before, Ethan Thompson was certain. He didn't know exactly when, but he had truly fallen for Jessica Smith. I wonder what she's doing, if she's asleep yet. Ethan Thompson turned over, lying on his side and gazing at the moon hanging in the night sky outside his window. His heart began to ache with longing for Jessica Smith again. If only she were here. A wave of disappointment washed over Ethan Thompson. During their trial separation, they had always slept in the same room. He only needed to turn his head to see her. But now, he couldn't see her no matter how he looked. It felt strange, unfamiliar. His heart felt hollow. Ethan Thompson gazed at the moon, but all he could see in his mind was Jessica Smith's face, an image he couldn't shake. "I'll go back tomorrow." Ethan Thompson silently made the decision. The next morning, Ethan Thompson woke early. Having decided to return to Green Valley ahead of schedule, Ethan Thompson found his heart was no longer in Willow Creek Village. He wished he could instantly fly back to Green Valley, back to Jessica Smith's side. During breakfast, Ethan Thompson told his parents about his plan to return to Green Valley. Although reluctant to see him go, they agreed. Before leaving, Ethan Thompson left $7.25 million for his family. Compared to the $50 million bank card Jessica Smith had given him, it wasn't a huge amount. He actually wanted to leave more, but he didn't know how to explain the source of the money. After all, he hadn't yet confessed about the trial separation. He worried that leaving too much money would make his parents suspect its origins were illegitimate, causing them even more concern. And so, with his family seeing him off, Ethan Thompson got in his car and began the journey back. Before setting off, Ethan Thompson sent Jessica Smith an iMessage telling her he was returning early. Then he put his phone aside and focused on driving. The entire way, he felt an urgent pull homeward, his thoughts filled solely with Jessica Smith. Meanwhile, back at the manor in Green Valley. At the dining table, Jessica Smith faced a spread of delicious food, but seemed to have little appetite, her mind clearly elsewhere. Ding dong. Suddenly, her phone chimed with a notification. Jessica Smith hurriedly picked it up. When she saw it was a message from Ethan Thompson, her eyes instantly lit up. The gloom vanished from her pretty face, replaced by a radiant smile. Ethan Thompson's coming back. Seeing the message, Jessica Smith jumped up from her chair in excitement, her happiness plain for anyone to see. Forgetting about her meal entirely, she rushed upstairs to change and put on makeup. During the 2 weeks Ethan Thompson had been away, she had been listless, too lazy even to bother with makeup, uninterested in anything. Now that Ethan Thompson was returning, she naturally wanted to freshen up and look her best for him. "Miss, please finish your breakfast first," Robert Lewis called out helplessly, watching Jessica Smith's retreating back as she hurried upstairs. However, Jessica Smith couldn't care less about such things now. Her mind was completely filled with Ethan Thompson. Soon, half an hour later, Jessica Smith emerged from her room, meticulously dressed and made up. She hurried downstairs and headed straight for the door. She went to the main gate of the manor, waiting expectantly, looking eagerly down the road for Ethan Thompson's return, a gentle smile gracing her delicate, beautiful face. She was clearly in high spirits. "Miss, it will be at least another 30 minutes before the master returns," Robert Lewis reminded her gently, coming up behind her. "It's all right, Robert Lewis. I'll wait for him here," Jessica Smith replied, turning around, her lovely face beaming. She was bursting with energy now, a stark contrast to her listless state over the past few days. Seeing Jessica Smith's eager expression, Robert Lewis opened his mouth as if to say something more, but in the end, he just gave a resigned smile. 2 weeks had passed since Ethan Thompson left. Now, on the quiet road, a car slowly approached the manor. Seeing the approaching vehicle, Jessica Smith's eyes brightened instantly. As her gaze fixed on the man inside, an irrepressible, joyful smile spread across her lips. Ethan Thompson was back. In the car, Ethan Thompson was momentarily stunned when he saw Jessica Smith waiting at the manor gate. Then, a smile naturally graced his own features. In that instant, he felt a profound sense of peace settle in his heart. Soon, the car stopped. Ethan Thompson had barely opened the door and stepped out when Jessica Smith rushed forward and threw herself into his arms. "Husband, you're back." Jessica Smith hugged him tightly, pressing her head against his chest and nuzzling affectionately, a look of pure bliss on her face. "Yes, I'm back," Ethan Thompson said softly in her ear, gently wrapping his arms around her soft, fragrant body. At that moment, Ethan Thompson felt an immense sense of contentment fill his heart. Standing nearby, Robert Lewis watched the affectionate reunion of the young couple. A gratified smile spread across his aged face. During the 2 weeks Ethan Thompson was away, Jessica Smith had seemed quite drained, as if all her energy had been sapped, appearing listless and lacking spirit. But the moment Ethan Thompson appeared, it was like she'd been fully recharged. Robert Lewis had witnessed the stark difference firsthand. After holding each other for a while, they reluctantly let go. Jessica Smith, her face flushed with a smile, lifted her glistening eyes and gazed tenderly at him, as if she couldn't get enough of looking at him. Ethan Thompson looked back at Jessica Smith, at the unbelievably beautiful girl before him. In that moment, Ethan Thompson couldn't help but recall Alex Carter and Emily's words. Did she really like him? Or was it all an act for the inheritance? Ethan Thompson glanced at Robert Lewis, standing nearby, feeling uncertain. He asked softly, "Have you been waiting here for me all this time?" "And no, not at all. I just came out for a walk and you happened to arrive?" "Yes, that's it." Jessica Smith suddenly grew shy, her gaze flickering away. If Ethan Thompson knew she had stood at the gate waiting for him for over 2 hours, he would definitely realize she liked him. Right now, Jessica Smith was certain Ethan Thompson didn't like her back yet, so she didn't have the courage to confess. She didn't know if Ethan Thompson would distance himself if he knew her true feelings, or if their relationship would become awkward. "Oh, I see." Ethan Thompson nodded, a slight pang of disappointment in his heart. He had hoped she was waiting specifically for him. "Let's go, time to head back." Ethan looked at the beautiful girl before him and smiled softly. Then, he reached out and took Jessica's small hand, their fingers interlaced, gripping tightly. Instantly, her delicate little hand was completely enveloped in his. Jessica's eyes widened, and she looked up at Ethan, slightly incredulous. Feeling the warmth radiating from his palm, Jessica felt a little dazed. Although they had held hands many times before, she had always been the one to initiate it. Ethan had always been passive. Moreover, every time she had taken his hand previously, she would deliberately explain, just to prevent any misunderstanding, that she was only doing it for the inheritance, only so others wouldn't see they were a fake couple. That's why they had to hold hands. But now, Ethan had actually taken her hand. This was the very first time. Once Jessica processed it, she felt as though she'd been struck by immense joy. The corners of her lips couldn't help but curve upwards, her pretty face blooming into a radiant smile. At this moment, she couldn't be happier. Ethan held my hand. He really held my hand. I'm not dreaming, Jessica thought blissfully. While she was still alone, Ethan was already leading her away, turning towards the manor. Jessica simply let him lead her, gazing at his tall, broad back, the smile on her lips impossible to suppress. Suddenly, Ethan slowed his pace and turned to look at her. Jessica immediately pressed her lips together, reining in her smile. "We're a married couple now. Holding hands is perfectly normal, right?" Ethan seemed afraid she might misunderstand and added quietly in explanation. He wasn't sure of Jessica's feelings yet, so he felt the need to clarify. The reason he took her hand was twofold. 1, he genuinely wanted to be closer to Jessica. 2, he wanted to test her reaction. But Jessica's reaction, aside from surprise, seemed to be nothing else. I know. Jessica tried hard to suppress her grin, nodding sweetly, her eyes sparkling with delight. Seeing that Jessica hadn't misunderstood, Ethan finally relaxed and continued leading her towards the manor. Robert Lewis followed behind them, watching the affectionate scene with a sense of gratification. Soon they were back inside the manor, sitting down on the sofa. It was worth noting that, even after sitting down, Ethan showed no intention of letting go of Jessica's hand, their fingers remaining tightly interlaced. Jessica didn't say anything, but the corners of her mouth threatened to curl up to the sky, the joy in her eyes impossible to hide. Ethan not letting go was exactly what she wanted. She wished she could hold his hand forever and never let go. While Ethan was gone these past few days, she hadn't held his hand at all. This was a perfect chance to make up for it. "Miss, sir, would you like some strawberry smoothies?" Just then, a housekeeper approached with 2 glasses of fresh juice and placed them on the table. "Yes, thank you. You may go," Jessica said with a smile, nodding gently. "Very well." The housekeeper turned and left, but after walking a short distance, she couldn't help but stop and look back. Seeing her young mistress looking so overjoyed, She shook her head with a helpless, amused smile. When the sir had left a few days ago, her mistress had been acting like she'd just gone through a breakup. Now, she looked like someone head over heels in love. The difference was just too stark. After the housekeeper left, Jessica seemed a bit thirsty and picked up a strawberry smoothie, taking a sip. She had waited for Ethan under the sun at the entrance for over 2 hours. She was indeed thirsty. She put the glass down and turned her head, only to find Ethan gazing at her softly, his eyes seemingly unwilling to look away, as if he couldn't get enough of looking at her. "What's wrong? Is there something on my face?" Jessica suddenly felt flustered and quickly touched her cheek. After all, Ethan had never stared at her like this before. It made her inexplicably nervous. Ethan chuckled softly, continuing to gaze at her unabashedly, showing no sign of looking away. "No, it's just being in Willow Creek these past few days, not seeing you. I actually missed you," Ethan stated frankly. "Missed me?" Jessica's beautiful eyes widened abruptly, and she froze. At the same time, a wave of surprise instantly flooded her eyes. "Ethan said he missed me? Did he really miss me? Did I hear that right?" Jessica could hardly believe her ears, feeling completely stunned. "Yeah, I missed you. I missed Robert Lewis too," Ethan nodded and added. Right now, he just wanted to figure out if Jessica really liked him, as Alex and Emily had suggested. So, he seized the opportunity to probe. Of course, before confirming Jessica's feelings, he wouldn't rashly reveal his own heart. After all, he was well aware of his own standing. His status simply didn't match Jessica's. "Oh, I see." A flicker of barely perceptible disappointment crossed Jessica's eyes. She had almost misunderstood, thinking Ethan had fallen for her. Still, she felt quite happy inside. At least Ethan had missed her too. "By the way, how come you came back early all of a sudden?" Jessica asked curiously, fluttering her watery bright eyes. Ethan had said he would stay at his parental home for 2 weeks, but today was only the morning of the 6th day, and he was back. "It's nothing. It was too boring staying at home, so I came back," Ethan replied with a smile. He actually wanted to say that he had rushed back early because he missed Jessica and wanted to see her sooner. But the words stopped at his lips, and he substituted another explanation. "Oh, okay." Jessica nodded lightly, looking at Ethan before her. A constant smile played on her lips. A sense of contentment filled her heart. During the days Ethan was away, her heart had felt like something was missing. Now that Ethan was back, that feeling naturally vanished. "I thought you'd be happy to be home. I didn't expect you'd be bored." "Actually, I was quite bored being home alone too," Jessica murmured, sharing her feelings from the past few days. While Ethan was gone, she wasn't just bored. It felt like the whole world had lost its color. She had no appetite, and her mind was constantly filled with thoughts of Ethan. Ethan looked at her exquisite profile and tentatively suggested, "Then next time I go home, how about I take you with me?" "Take me with you?" Jessica paused, looking astonished. These past few days without Ethan had been incredibly difficult for her. She often wished she could go back to his parental home with him. That way, she could see Ethan every day. She hadn't expected Ethan to seemingly read her mind and suggest taking her with him next time. "Yeah, weren't you bored? Actually, the scenery in my family home is quite nice, very picturesque, and it's pretty fun. If you're willing, I'll take you along next time I go back," Ethan said with a smile. During his time back home these past few days, he had also missed Jessica terribly. If Jessica could come with him next time, he could see her all the time. Okay, I'd love to go." Jessica agreed without a second thought, nodding enthusiastically, her eyes shining with undisguised delight. "Then it's settled. I'll take you next time." They looked at each other and couldn't help but smile, both clearly in high spirits. For the rest of the day, Ethan didn't head to the fitness center as usual. Having just returned, all he wanted was to spend time with Jessica. Workouts, discipline, none of it mattered right now. He simply sat with Jessica in the manor, chatting occasionally just looking at her beside him. A deep sense of contentment filled his heart. Notably, throughout this time, Ethan held Jessica's hand, never letting go. And Jessica, as if she'd forgotten about it entirely, simply let him hold it. That evening, at the dinner table, after the housekeeper arranged the lavish spread on the long table, she stood quietly aside, fulfilling her role as unobtrusive background staff. Once seated, they began their steak dinner. "Here, you have this," Jessica said, picking up a piece of beef and placing it in Ethan's bowl. Seeing him eat the food she'd served him, Jessica's eyes overflowed with affection. A faint smile touched Ethan's lips. He knew Jessica was likely just playing a part, fulfilling the role of a good wife, but his heart still felt undeniably happy. He picked up a piece of fish in return. "Here, honey, you have some too." Instead of placing it in her bowl, Ethan brought the piece directly to Jessica's lips. Jessica froze for a second, looking somewhat taken aback. Ethan had served her food before, but she could clearly sense that today he seemed much more forward, more proactive. This pleased her immensely, sending a sweet warmth spreading through her heart. Him feeding her directly meant he actively wanted to be closer to her. What's wrong? Don't you like this? Seeing her just staring at him without accepting the food, Ethan felt a little puzzled and asked. And no, I like it. Jessica snapped back to reality, a smile instantly blooming on her face. She opened her delicate lips and accepted the piece of fish Ethan offered. She ate it happily, her eyes curving into smiling crescents. Want more? Seeing how much she enjoyed it filled Ethan with satisfaction too. Yes, please. Jessica nodded eagerly, like a little chick pecking for grain, looking like a child waiting to be fed. All right, hold on. Ethan chuckled helplessly, picking up another piece to feed her. Jessica savored it, looking exceptionally happy, as if it were the most delicious steak dinner she'd ever had. Nearby, the two invisible housekeepers couldn't help but smile as they watched the young couple's affectionate display. Later that night, darkness deepened. The lights in the room were off. Ethan lay on his bedding on the floor, turned on his side, gazing at Jessica on the bed. Though he couldn't see her face clearly in the dark, only the faint outline of her features, it was enough to bring peace to his heart. These past few days in the countryside, sleeping alone in a room, had felt unnatural. He constantly felt like something was missing. Now that he was back, his heart finally felt settled. What Ethan didn't know was that, at this very moment, Jessica was also lying on her side on the bed, wide awake. Just like him, she was gazing at him in the darkness, her eyes soft as water, a faint smile constantly playing on her lips. Looking at Ethan on the floor bedding, Jessica felt a profound sense of security and peace. During the days Ethan was away, she thought of him every night. Every time she looked at the empty space on the floor beside the bed, her heart felt hollow. Now, seeing the familiar bedding there, she felt utterly content. The next morning in the room, at 7 a.m., 2 alarms rang out precisely on schedule, shattering the room's silence. Ethan was jolted awake. He grabbed his phone, silenced the alarm, and looked up towards the bed. He saw Jessica was already awake, also looking at him. The moment their eyes met, Ethan smiled. Jessica smiled back. I'll go wash up first, Ethan announced, getting up and heading to the bathroom. Jessica watched his retreating back, feeling that familiar sense of security settle within her. Just then, a ray of sunlight pierced through the glass, falling onto her. Jessica glanced at the sky outside, stretched languidly, and realized she had slept exceptionally well. While Ethan was away, she'd suffered from insomnia, never quite sleeping properly. Now that Ethan was back, her insomnia was cured. If only I could wake up and see him every day. Jessica murmured softly, gazing at the bathroom door. Half an hour later, outside the manor entrance, Ethan stood in the morning sun, doing warm-up exercises. The early morning breeze still carried a slight chill, raising goosebumps on his arms and legs, clad only in shorts and a short-sleeved shirt. But soon, as he continued his warm-up, his body began to heat up and the goosebumps vanished. Ethan! Suddenly, a sweet, gentle female voice called out from behind him. Ethan turned. There, bathed in the golden morning sun, Jessica approached with light, graceful steps. Her tall figure looked elegant and poised, her stunningly beautiful face seeming to dim the rest of the world. Her very presence was the most beautiful sight of the morning. A familiar high ponytail bounced energetically behind her head, catching the morning light, making her look vibrant and full of life. You're here. Seeing Jessica before him, Ethan felt an inexplicable flutter in his chest, and a smile naturally spread across his face. Jessica nodded lightly, walking over with a grin. She then mirrored his movements, joining him in the warm-up exercises. A few minutes later, they began jogging together along the quiet road. During the run, however, Ethan couldn't help but keep turning his head to look at the girl beside him. Each time, an expression of deep satisfaction would appear on his face. These past few days in the countryside, running alone each morning without Jessica felt wrong. He'd constantly find himself thinking of her. Now that he was back, that familiar, comfortable feeling had returned. Soon, they reached the park 24 miles west of the manor. By this point, Jessica was exhausted and couldn't keep going. She had to stop and rest. Usually, Ethan would continue his run, while Jessica found a bench to sit on alone. But today, Ethan acted completely out of character. He He stopped running too and sat down beside her on the bench to rest with her. This surprised Jessica quite a bit. Seeing her glistening with sweat and looking fatigued, Ethan felt a pang of protectiveness. "How are you?" "Very tired," Ethan asked gently, his eyes showing concern. "Not really tired." Jessica flashed a sweet smile, basking in Ethan's attention, feeling delighted inside. "Ethan, don't worry about me. You go run, I'm fine." Jessica didn't want to be a burden or mess up Ethan's morning run schedule because of her. "Are your legs sore? Want me to rub them for you?" However, Ethan seemed not to have heard her, only asking if she was tired or if her legs hurt. "What?" Jessica froze for a moment, her limpid eyes widening slightly as she looked up at Ethan in surprise. During their morning runs before, whenever she got too tired to keep going, Ethan had never shown this kind of concern. She'd always just rested by herself, while Ethan continued his run. He never cared if she was tired, let alone offered to massage her legs. But today, Ethan had actually offered to massage her legs. Jessica almost wondered if she was dreaming, because only in her dreams was Ethan ever this nice to her. "Look, how about I give her legs a quick massage? If you're uncomfortable with it, then never mind," Ethan said when he saw her hesitate, thinking she might be reluctant. After all, massaging someone's legs was quite intimate. They were just a fake couple. It would be perfectly normal if Jessica refused. "No, I'm willing. I am." Snapping back to reality, Jessica nodded vigorously and immediately lifted her long legs, resting them across Ethan's lap, as if afraid he'd change his mind if she was too slow. "All right, here I go." Noticing Jessica avert her gaze shyly, Ethan chuckled softly and placed his hands on her legs. Then, he began to gently knead them. Instantly, Ethan felt the soft, smooth texture beneath his hands. They were soft and supple, incredibly nice to the touch. Because Jessica was wearing thin, breathable athletic pants, Ethan could clearly feel the faint warmth of her skin through the light fabric. In that moment, Ethan felt a jolt. His heart couldn't help but beat a little faster. It couldn't be helped. Jessica's long legs were simply stunning. Slender, straight, perfectly curved and proportioned. Any normal man would find legs like these irresistible. He took a deep breath to calm the stirring within him. Then he looked up at Jessica and saw that she seemed a bit shy too. Her head was slightly lowered, the tips of her ears faintly red, and she seemed hesitant to meet his gaze. Yet, a faint smile played constantly at the corners of her lips. Ethan didn't dwell on it, simply focusing on diligently massaging her legs to ease the soreness. After a while, Ethan's hand started to ache. He glanced up at Jessica and saw her pretty face slightly flushed, her limpid eyes shining like brilliant stars, glistening with moisture. Still shy, Ethan found it slightly amusing. Rubbing his own aching wrists, he asked, "How does that feel?" "Any better?" Jessica had wanted Ethan to massage them a bit longer, but seeing his hands were sore, she felt a pang of concern and decided against it. "I feel much better now, it's fine." Jessica lifted her long legs off Ethan's lap, replying with a bright smile. "That's good." Ethan let out a soft sigh of relief. Just then, a white Porsche approached from down the road and soon pulled to a smooth stop in front of them. A smartly dressed security personnel in a suit stepped out of the car. Ethan was already used to this. He knew this guard was specifically here to drive Jessica back to the manor. "Come on, let's head back." Ethan stood up and, seemingly worried her legs might still be sore, took the initiative to help Jessica towards the Porsche. "MHM." Jessica nodded lightly. In truth, her legs didn't hurt anymore after Ethan's massage, but faced with his gentle consideration, she couldn't bring herself to refuse. Besides, she wasn't going to pass up his thoughtful gesture. After helping Jessica into the car, Ethan, just like usual, chose to continue his morning run back to the manor. Jessica sat in the back seat, rolled down the window, and leaned out slightly, her soft gaze fixed on Ethan, her eyes filled with contentment. Watching Ethan run in the morning sun, a gentle smile constantly graced her lips. "This is wonderful." Under the morning sun on the quiet road, the white Porsche drove slowly, keeping pace steadily beside Ethan all the way back to the manor. In the afternoon, Ethan went to work out at the fitness center, and Jessica, naturally, went along to keep him company. She didn't even go out when Laura called and invited her. Ethan was finally back, and right now, she didn't want to go anywhere. She just wanted to be with him. When Ethan finished his workout, Jessica, as usual, approached him with the mineral water and towel she had prepared. While Ethan drank the water, she thoughtfully used the towel to wipe the sweat from his brow. But every time she saw his faintly visible abs, she couldn't help but feel a little tempted. She wanted to touch them, but felt too shy. This time was no exception. Staring at Ethan's well-defined abs, she found it hard to look away. However, she managed to restrain herself and didn't reach out to take advantage, focusing solely on wiping his sweat. Ethan sat quietly resting on the sofa, watching Jessica wipe his sweat, a sense of contentment washing over him. Just then, a gentle breeze blew in through the window, ruffling a few strands of Jessica's hair near her ear, letting them fall loose. Jessica, however, continued to diligently wipe Ethan's sweat. Ethan smiled faintly, reached out, and gently tucked the stray strands of hair behind her ear. Jessica, in the middle of wiping his sweat, froze completely. She looked up, meeting Ethan's soft eyes. "Your hair was messy. Just fixing it for you," Ethan explained with a smile. "MHM." Jessica paused for a second, then nodded lightly. Though she pressed her lips together, the corners couldn't help but curve upwards. Her eyes instantly brightened, sparkling. The old Ethan would never have noticed things like this, nor would he ever have been so gentle with her. In that moment, Jessica felt once again that Ethan's attitude toward her seemed to have changed somehow. It made her heart incredibly happy, a sweet feeling spreading through her, as if she'd eaten honey. 11 p.m. The night was quiet. The lights in the room were off. All was silent. Ethan lay on the floor mat, fast asleep. On the large bed beside him, Jessica lay on her side, wide awake. Her clear eyes gazed thoughtfully at Ethan on the floor mat in the darkness. Since Ethan had returned, she could clearly sense that his attitude towards her seemed different from before. The current Ethan was noticeably more caring, gentler, and even more proactive towards her. Could it be? He started to fall for me. The next day dawned bright and clear, the sun shining warmly. After breakfast, Ethan felt a bit stuffed and decided to go out for a walk to let his food settle. However, just as he stood up, his iPhone buzzed in his pocket with an incoming call. He pulled it out and saw it was his younger sister, Jenna. "Hey, big bro. I'm in Green Valley. Where are you? Come on, treat me to a steak dinner. Your little sis hasn't eaten yet." Jenna's cheerful voice came through the phone. "Weren't you home? What are you doing in the city?" Ethan paused, taken aback. "Well, I was bored stiff at home, and it just so happens my BFF is having a birthday party today, so I came in the city to hang out. I'm going to celebrate with her tonight," Jenna explained. "I see. Okay, where are you? I'll come find you." Ethan nodded, feeling a bit resigned. His sister was here, after all. He couldn't just blow her off. "Hold on. I'll send you my location. Come meet me." "All right." After hanging up, Ethan looked at Jessica, sitting beside him, his expression helpless. "I think I need to head out for a bit." "Oh, okay. Go ahead." Jessica looked slightly disappointed. She really wanted to stick close to Ethan, but since he was meeting his sister, it wasn't appropriate for her to tag along. Besides, Ethan hadn't told anyone in the Thompson family about their trial separation yet. If Jenna asked who she was, Jessica wouldn't know how to answer. "I'll be off then." With that, Ethan drove his Rolls-Royce away from the manor. Jenna had sent her location, the Green Valley Mall. Ethan drove into the mall's parking garage, parked, and took the elevator up to find her. Soon, he spotted his sister inside a Starbucks. "Big bro, did you take a cab or something? What took you so long?" Jenna pouted, complaining lightly before returning to her milkshake, sipping it with relish. "Where's your BFF?" Ethan asked, looking slightly exasperated and ignoring her question. "Her birthday party's tonight. I figured I'd grab steak dinner with you first, then go meet her." "So, where are you staying tonight? Want me to get you a room at the Holiday Inn?" "No need. I'm crashing at my BFF's place. I'll head back tomorrow morning." "All right then. Let's go, big bro. Time to eat. I'm starving." Jenna grabbed Ethan's arm and practically dragged him down to the first floor of the Green Valley Mall, pulling him into a Texas smokehouse. Half an hour later, the brother and sister emerged from the restaurant onto the main square. Jenna was completely full, looking utterly content. "Okay, big bro, I'm gonna head off now. Going to find my BFF," Jenna announced, turning to leave. "Wait." Ethan stopped her. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a cash gift envelope, and handed it to her. "You're out on your own. A girl can't be without money. Take this. If it's not enough, let me know." Jenna's face instantly lit up like a kid in a candy store. Beaming, she happily accepted the cash gift envelope. "Thanks, big bro. Actually, I have money. I just wanted an excuse for you to treat me to dinner." "All right, I get it. Go find your BFF. Call me if anything comes up." Ethan waved dismissively, signaling she could go. "Okay, I'm off. Bye, big bro." Clutching the envelope, Jenna was radiating happiness, smiling broadly as she waved goodbye. Just as she turned to leave, "Ethan," a familiar female voice called out from behind them. Both siblings froze, then turned around simultaneously toward the sound. Two heavily made-up socialites were walking out of the Green Valley Mall. They were none other than Sarah Young and Olivia. Both women were laden with numerous shopping bags, clearly having just finished a spree inside. Sarah, Ethan frowned instantly, displeasure evident on his face. Just my luck, he thought, annoyed. Can't even step out without running into this woman. Seeing her former sister-in-law, the smile vanished from Jenna's face. The good mood from the cash gift envelope evaporated completely. Sarah hurried over to Ethan. Seeing his cold expression, she bit her lip and asked softly, "Ethan, what are you doing here?" Ethan shot her an icy glare, replying indifferently, "What business is it of yours where I am?" Sarah visibly flinched, looking hurt and pitiful. She turned to Jenna, forcing a smile. "Jenna's here too. Why didn't you let your sister-in-law know you were coming to the city? Come over to the Thompson family house later. I'll cook something nice for you." "No thanks," Jenna retorted, pursing her lips. She stepped firmly to Ethan's side, glaring at Sarah with unified hostility. "You and my brother are on a trial separation. You're not my sister-in-law anymore." Rebuffed again, a flicker of sadness crossed Sarah's eyes, her expression becoming even more wounded. She stood rooted to the spot, wanting to speak but momentarily lost for words. Seeing her friend get snubbed twice, Olivia couldn't stay quiet. She stepped forward. "Ethan, do you have any idea what you're doing to Sarah? Ever since you refused to reconcile, she's completely lost her appetite. She's gotten so thin, and she's been incredibly depressed. I even talked to her doctor. They said she might have clinical depression." Olivia pressed on earnestly. "Ethan, you have to get back together with her. Sarah being like this isn't good for your biracial baby. If you keep this up, her depression will only get worse." Of course, Olivia was exaggerating heavily. Sarah had been down, yes, but nowhere near clinically depressed. The doctor consultation was pure fiction, designed to guilt-trip Ethan. Depressed, Ethan glanced at Sarah, who immediately put on a perfectly timed look of dejection and despair. But then his eyes fell on the dozen or so shopping bags clutched in her hands, and he almost laughed aloud. Depressed, yet still has the energy for retail, therapy? "Ethan, it's because she's depressed that I brought her shopping. To try and cheer her up. Look how miserable your wife is. Don't you feel even a little bit sorry for her?" Olivia shot back, acting indignant on Sarah's behalf. Ethan was momentarily speechless, then just shook his head. "So what if she's depressed? What's it got to do with me? We're separated. Even if she genuinely has depression, it's none of my damn business." Playing the victim card again, "Huh? Ethan, how can you be so cruel?" Olivia stared dumbfounded. She'd expected him to show some leniency, remembering their past, not react with such cold-hearted indifference. "All right, that's enough talk. We have things to do. We're leaving." Ethan had zero patience left for these two Valley girls. He took Jenna's arm and turned to leave without a second glance. Seeing him walk away, Sarah and Olivia panicked. They'd finally cornered him and weren't about to lose this chance to plead their case. "Ethan, stop." Sarah lunged forward, grabbing his sleeve. Ethan turned back, his face etched with irritation. Sarah's eyes were brimming with tears, making her look utterly wretched and about to burst into sobs. "Ethan, I was wrong. I truly regret everything. Please, just forgive me. Let's get back together. Our biracial child needs a father." Sarah pleaded, her lower lip trembling pitifully. Olivia quickly added her support. "Yes, Ethan. Sarah genuinely knows she messed up, and she's truly sorry. Just give her another chance. She's already depressed. Don't make it worse." Ethan yanked his hand away from Sarah's grasp. Looking at the pitiful Sarah, there wasn't a shred of sympathy in his eyes, only deep disgust. "Sarah, already divorced. Even if you drop dead, it would have nothing to do with me. You want to get back together? Don't even dream about it in this lifetime." Ethan's tone was final, leaving no room for negotiation. Sarah saw the undisguised loathing and disdain in Ethan's eyes. In that instant, she felt like she'd been struck by lightning, frozen to the spot. The old Ethan used to look at her with such tenderness, filled with love. But now, is there only disgust left? He really didn't love her anymore. At that moment, Sarah felt a pang in her heart, unable to hold back any longer. She burst into tears, sobbing uncontrollably as they streamed down her face. Just then, Jenna stepped forward, sneering at her. "Sarah, you didn't cherish my brother back then, and now you regret it? Too late. My brother would never get back together with a gold digger like you." Jenna's scornful taunt made Sarah's face turn even paler. "Let's go. Don't waste your breath on her." Ethan couldn't be bothered wasting any more time here and turned to leave with his sister. Seeing Ethan about to leave, Sarah panicked. She scrambled after him, grabbing his hand again, and then she dropped to her knees. Sob. Ethan, I really know I was wrong. Sob. I'm begging you, let's get back together, please sob. Sarah clutched Ethan's sleeve tightly, pleading tearfully, looking utterly desperate and pathetic. Ethan, look, Sarah really regrets it. She's even kneeling to beg you. What more do you want? Olivia couldn't stand watching anymore and stepped up to defend her friend. In her eyes, Sarah had humbled herself completely. If Ethan still refused to reconcile, he was truly heartless. Are you nuts? Both of you are nuts. Sarah, let go. Don't dirty my hand. Ethan rolled his eyes at the pair of them, then shook Sarah's hand off with a look of disgust. However, Sarah seemed terrified he would leave just like that. The moment she was pushed away, she clung back onto him like glue, grabbing his hand again, tighter this time, refusing to let go. Ethan, let's get back together. I promise I won't be willful anymore. Let's remarry, give our child a home together, okay? Sarah held onto Ethan tightly, unwilling to release her grip. She knelt there on the ground, looking up at Ethan with tear-filled eyes full of desperation. Get back together? Fuck that. Ethan, let's remarry. I regret it, I was wrong. Let's remarry, okay? Please. Sarah knelt, gripping Ethan's hands, still pleading pitifully. The commotion had already attracted the attention of many passers-by, quite a few of whom were now gathering around to watch the drama unfold. Sarah, forget it. Ethan glanced at the onlookers, then yanked his hand away with all his might, throwing Sarah off. Looking down at her collapsed on the ground, sobbing hysterically, he said mercilessly, Sarah, just give up hope. You want to remarry? Dream on. With that, Ethan didn't spare her another glance, grabbed Jenna, and turned to leave. Ethan, how could you do this? How could you do this to me, Ethan? Sarah, sprawled on the ground, screamed desperately at Ethan's retreating back. However, Ethan didn't even turn his head, simply walking away. He left Sarah behind, kneeling on the ground like a clown, being gawked at and pointed at by the surrounding crowd. Seeing people pulling out their phones to take pictures and post Instagram stories, Olivia seemed embarrassed. She retreated back in a crowd, pretending to be just another ordinary onlooker. Meanwhile, the siblings reached an intersection. Bro, that Sarah is just disgusting. You better not even think about getting back with her, or I'll lose all respect for you, Jenna said with a serious expression. You think I need you to tell me that? I'm not that much of a jerk. Of course, I won't get back together with her, Ethan retorted, rolling his eyes at her. Good. Jenna breathed a sigh of relief. She had genuinely worried her brother might soften up and reconcile with Sarah, especially considering how much Ethan used to love her. Seeing his firm stance now finally put her mind at ease. All right, bro, I'm gonna go meet my BFF. You head back too. Jenna waved goodbye, ready to leave. Okay, call me if you need anything. Let me know if you need money, Ethan reminded her patiently. Okay, I know. Jenna nodded with a smile, then turned and left. Ethan watched her figure recede into the distance until she disappeared into the crowd, then sighed helplessly before turning to leave himself. Soon, he returned to Green Valley Mall. He glanced from afar. On the main square in front of the mall, the crowd had dispersed, leaving only Sarah curled up on the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. Olivia was squatting beside her, patting her shoulder comfortingly. Regarding those two, Ethan just shook his head helplessly, then turned and entered Green Valley Mall. He took the elevator down to the underground parking garage, found his Rolls-Royce, and drove back to the manor. At 12 p.m. noon, fluffy white clouds drifted across the clear sky. Under the bright sunlight, in the spacious manor, Jessica sat alone on a swing, FaceTiming Laura. Jessica, how are things going with you and your Ethan? Laura asked curiously. Jessica had mentioned wanting to pursue Ethan a long time ago, but after all this time, there hadn't been much real progress. This had turned Laura's initial eager anticipation into current disinterest. Laura, I feel like Ethan might like me a little now, Jessica said, a bit shyly, her pretty face flushing slightly. What? Ethan likes you. Laura perked up, suddenly interested again. Her long wait hadn't been for nothing. There was finally some progress. How could she not be excited? Jessica nodded lightly, though she still seemed a little uncertain. Laura, it's just, since Ethan came back from his trip out of town, I feel like he's a bit different towards me. How different? Tell me. Laura prompted, a look of eager anticipation on her face, her curiosity piqued. Jessica thought for a moment before slowly saying, well, the Ethan now, he takes the initiative to hold my hand, he feeds me sometimes, he even gives me leg rubs. And I feel like the way he looks at me is different too. See? It's happening, girl. Ethan definitely likes you, Laura exclaimed excitedly, absolutely certain. Really? Jessica's eyes lit up, a smile involuntarily touching her lips. Deep down, she felt it too, that Ethan probably did like her a little. But she couldn't be sure. After all, she had loved him for so many years, always hoping he would return her feelings. Now that the day seemed to be arriving, it felt almost unreal. Hearing Laura say it too solidified her budding certainty. Totally. When a guy makes an effort to get close to you and shows concern, he's definitely interested. Stop overthinking it, Jessica. He likes you, Laura insisted, giving her a much-needed boost of confidence. So do you think? Jessica started to ask, but just then, a Rolls-Royce pulled into the manor grounds. Her attention instantly diverted. Jessica looked up, seeing Ethan had returned. A joyful smile unconsciously spread across her face. She stood up and, almost without thinking, hurried towards him. Inside the car, Ethan watched Jessica practically fly towards him, saw the bright smile on her face. In that instant, his mood lifted considerably. Thinking of Sarah, who could be shrewish, and then looking at Jessica. The difference was night and day. Ethan smiled, opened the car door, got out, and quickly walked to meet her. Jessica skidded to a halt just in front of him, looking up at him with sparkling, bright eyes and a beaming smile. Ethan, however, didn't stop. He walked right up and pulled her in his arms. "Wife, I'm back," he murmured softly in her ear, holding her soft, yielding body. Jessica hadn't expected him to initiate a hug. She froze, stunned. This was the first time Ethan had ever hugged her voluntarily. After the initial shock wore off, a delighted smile blossomed on her pretty face, her eyes shining. She couldn't have been happier in that moment. We're husband and wife. A hug is perfectly reasonable, right? Ethan whispered in her ear, perhaps worried she'd misunderstand. It was the same excuse Jessica used when she hugged him. He was just echoing her now. Reasonable. Jessica nodded prettily, her eyes full of joy. She hugged him back tightly. Under the bright sunlight, they held each other. But after only a moment, Ethan released her. Honestly, he didn't want to let go so soon, but holding on longer might seem inappropriate. Jessica also wished he'd hold her longer, but being the girl, and especially given their current trial separation, she couldn't bring herself to ask. "You go back to the swing?" "I'm going upstairs to change," Ethan said with a smile before turning to leave. Jessica watched his retreating back wistfully, as if she could never get enough of the sight. "Whoa, Jessica, Ethan hugged you." Suddenly, Laura's shocked voice came from the phone. Jessica abruptly remembered she hadn't ended the video call. That meant Laura had seen some of what just happened with Ethan's hug. Maybe not everything, but enough to know what occurred. "Laura, did you see? Ethan hugged me. He hugged me." Jessica lifted her chin slightly, a touch of pride in her joyous expression. "Jessica, I'm absolutely positive now. Ethan has definitely fallen for you," Laura declared emphatically. "You really think so?" Jessica couldn't stop the smile spreading across her face, the happiness bubbling over. "Of course. Didn't you see? The way Ethan looks at you has changed. He definitely likes you. So, Laura, what should I do?" "What should you do?" "Get ready to confess, obviously," Laura said matter-of-factly. "Confess." The thought immediately filled Jessica with anticipation, making her eyes sparkle. If her confession was successful, Ethan would be hers forever. The boy she had loved for 17 years. She had dreamed of being with him. Now, it seemed the only thing standing between them was a formal confession. If it worked, her dream of being with Ethan forever would come true. But, for some reason, the thought of confessing also made her heart clench with panic. She suddenly felt unsure. What if Ethan said no? Would that mean it was impossible between them, forever? Laura, unaware of the whirlwind of thoughts in Jessica's mind, continued. "Jessica, you can prepare your confession. Once you tell him, you two can be together. You can have Ethan." "Really?" Laura's words gave Jessica a surge of confidence. "Definitely. Jessica, think about it. You're gorgeous, you're rich, and, crucially, Ethan likes you now too. What reason is there for you two not to be together?" Seeing Jessica still hesitant, Laura realized she was feeling insecure. After all, Jessica had harbored feelings for Ethan for so many years. To suddenly lay them bare must be terrifying. "Jessica, if you chicken out now, even I'll look down on you," Laura couldn't help but prod. "Jessica, your 2-month deadline isn't far off. If you don't confess, you'll have to divorce when the time is up. Are you really going to watch Ethan walk away? If you can't take this final step, you'll never be with Ethan again in this lifetime." Hearing Laura's words, Jessica's gaze gradually hardened with resolve. Right? In just over 20 days, the 2 months would be up. If she couldn't get together with Ethan before then, they would have to separate. She had already missed her chance with Ethan once during university. Was she going to miss it again? No. This time, she absolutely couldn't miss her chance with Ethan. He was the dream guy she had loved for 17 years, her guiding light. She had to win him over. With these thoughts, Jessica made up her mind. Laura, you're right. I have to confess. I can't miss my chance with Ethan again. Her eyes shone with determination. That's more like it. Laura chuckled softly. Jessica, I remember your birthday is in a few days. You could throw a birthday party, we can all hang out, and you can confess to Ethan then. Okay, I will. Jessica nodded seriously. Confessing at her own birthday party did seem like a good opportunity. Okay, don't be so nervous. Ethan will definitely say yes. He likes you now. There's no reason for him to refuse. Laura reassured her, sensing her lingering anxiety. Okay, Laura, I understand. Thanks for remembering my birthday, Jessica said, feeling a little touched. Mentioning the birthday, however, made Laura roll her eyes. Of course, I remember, Jessica, she grumbled. Last year on my birthday, you smashed red velvet cake all over my face. I've been waiting for your birthday to get my revenge. Laura's tone held a hint of complaint, but then shifted. But, seeing as you're going to confess, I'll let you off the hook. Okay. Jessica's expression froze, the small warmth of gratitude vanishing instantly. Laura, you really think Ethan will accept my confession, right? Jessica bit her lip, asking nervously. Relax. You're beautiful. You're rich. Who could possibly refuse you? Laura sounded a little exasperated by her continued worry. Jessica truly loved Ethan too much, so much so that she loved him cautiously, carefully. Even now, when the chances of success were high, she was still so hesitant. She was terrified of losing him, which was why the confession felt monumentally important. Twilight settled, the sun sinking low in the west. The last rays of sunset bathed the manor grounds, painting the earth a brilliant fiery red. On the swing set, Ethan and Jessica sat side by side, gently swaying. Ethan was quietly admiring the beautiful sunset, savoring the peaceful, pleasant moment. What he didn't know was that Jessica was gazing intently at his profile, her clear, limpid eyes unblinking, shimmering with emotion. The thought that she would confess her feelings to Ethan in just a few days filled Jessica's heart with anticipation, mixed inevitably with a flutter of nervousness. This boy before her, she had loved him for 17 years. She dreamed of being with Ethan. In just a few days, if Ethan accepted her confession, her wish would finally come true. They could be together for real, not like now, just a fake couple, married in name only. But would Ethan accept her feelings? What's wrong? Ethan turned then, noticing Jessica staring blankly, lost in thought, and asked with concern. And nothing. Jessica shook her head gently and turned back to watch the sunset. Tonight's sunset was truly beautiful. It painted the clouds orange-red, like clusters of colorful cotton candy drifting across the sky. But even as Jessica watched the sunset, her expression was distant, clearly preoccupied. What she didn't know was that, as she looked at the sky, Ethan was now quietly gazing at her exquisite profile, his eyes soft, a gentle smile playing on his lips. The sunset's glow fell upon Jessica's delicate, lovely face, tinting her moist eyes fiery red, making them sparkle. Her upturned lashes, her small, perfect nose, her soft, pink lips, all seemed edged in gold by the twilight haze. This is the girl I love, he thought. She's so beautiful. Although he wasn't yet sure of Jessica's feelings, nor if they truly had a future together, just being able to sit here with her on the swing, watching the sunset like a real couple, filled his heart with contentment. Soon, the sun dipped below the horizon. Night fell, and a sliver of moon climbed into the sky, casting down its silvery light. Let's go back. A soft night breeze blew past, and Ethan, feeling a slight chill, spoke to Jessica. "M.H.M." Jessica offered a small smile, getting up and following him back into the manor. Two housekeepers were setting dishes on the dining table. The pair walked straight over, took their seats, and began their steak dinner. "Here, wifey, have this." Ethan picked up a piece of beef stroganoff with his fork and placed it on Jessica's plate. A faint smile touched Jessica's pretty face as she watched Ethan continue to serve her food, feeling his care. Her nervousness began to fade. He cares about me so much, he must like me too. If I confess, he'll definitely say yes. Jessica gradually relaxed, her heart filling with hope. "Ethan, my birthday is in a few days." Jessica began softly, looking nervously at Ethan's handsome face, trying to gauge his reaction. "Oh, really? When is it?" Ethan looked up a little surprised. Next Monday, July 7th. Jessica said quietly. So what gift do you want? Ethan put down his fork, already wondering what he should get her. After all, this was the first birthday he'd be celebrating with her. The gift couldn't be insignificant. Jessica gently shook her head, simply gazing at him, her eyes moist and bright. I don't need a gift. I just want you to be there, Jessica said softly. To her, no gift, no matter how precious, could compare to Ethan himself. She just needed Ethan to show up. That won't do. There has to be a gift. Ethan insisted, shaking his head. It was her birthday, after all. He'd feel awkward showing up empty-handed. How about this? I'll figure something out. Just promise you won't hate it. Ethan decided after a moment's thought. He'd spend the next few days finding the perfect birthday gift for Jessica and give it to her on the day. Okay, as long as you come, that's all that matters. Jessica smiled faintly. The gift truly wasn't important to her. Just having Ethan, there was enough. Of course, receiving a gift that Ethan had specially picked out for her. Well, that would be even better. So, how are you planning to celebrate your birthday? Ethan asked curiously. Just the usual way. I'll be having a birthday party somewhere. Once everything's ready, I'll send you the details via iMessage. You just need to come. Jessica replied after thinking. The most important part of this birthday party was confessing to Ethan. She might need to set up the confession scene in advance. If Ethan arrived too early, it might spoil the surprise. Don't you need my help? No need. Just show up on the day. All right then. Later that night, as darkness deepened. In their room, the two had gone to bed. However, Ethan couldn't sleep, tossing and turning, his mind preoccupied with finding a gift. This was, after all, the first birthday he was celebrating with Jessica. He wanted her to be happy and surprised by his gift. So, Ethan wanted to give Jessica a truly special gift. Ethan thought for a long time, but still couldn't decide what to get. He pulled out his iPhone and started searching social media for good gift ideas for girls. However, the search results were full of cliché gifts. Things like flowers, makeup, lipstick, necklaces. Too generic. No originality. Ethan finally closed his iPhone in frustration, resigned to figuring it out himself. For the next few days, Ethan continued to mull over gift ideas for Jessica, but he still hadn't come up with anything. Soon, July 7th arrived. Jessica left early in the morning, saying she was going to prepare for the birthday party with Laura. She reminded him to be there on time that evening. Ethan readily agreed, of course. After Jessica left, Ethan was still stuck on the gift problem. Just as he was racking his brain, he happened to see an Instagram story posted by Alex. That's how he found out Alex and his girlfriend were back in Green Valley. Still clueless on his own, Ethan decided to crowdsource some ideas. So, he made a phone call. Yo, Ethan, what's up? Alex answered. Come out. I'll treat you to a steak dinner. Ethan said, treat me to steak? Why? You wouldn't offer me a free meal for no reason. Spit it out. What do you need? Alex didn't agree immediately, sensing Ethan had an ulterior motive. All right, fine. It's Jessica Smith's birthday today, and I still haven't figured out what gift to get her. Come out and help me pick something. I'll treat you to steak after we buy it. Oh, is that it? Okay, sure. Hold on. I'll bring my girlfriend too. Okay. Around noon, in a Starbucks on street. Tucked away in a corner, Ethan Thompson nursed a milkshake, absent-mindedly glancing towards the door every so often. He was waiting for Alex Carter and Emily. Time was ticking, and he still hadn't figured out what gift to get. How could he not be anxious? Finally, a few minutes later, Alex Carter and Emily walked into the Starbucks together. After ordering their own milkshakes, they sat down across from Ethan Thompson. Ethan, is it Jessica Smith's birthday today? Alex Carter asked as soon as he sat down. He and Emily had just gotten back from visiting their parents and found out about Jessica's birthday right after returning. Quite the coincidence. Yeah, and I still haven't figured out what gift to get her. Ethan Thompson nodded, sighing lightly, a troubled look on his face. So, Ethan, how are things between you and Jessica now? Have you confessed your feelings? Emily asked eagerly, taking a sip of her milkshake. Last time in the village, Ethan had admitted his feelings for Jessica himself. It made her curious whether Ethan had confessed to Jessica since he got back. Had their relationship progressed at all? Not yet. Ethan Thompson shook his head, answering honestly. I'm still not sure if she really likes me back, so I haven't confessed. Lately, he'd only been testing the waters with Jessica, using their fake marriage as cover. But every time, Jessica's reaction seemed to be just surprise, nothing more. Of course, Ethan had noticed she seemed somewhat happy about it, but he wasn't sure if the happiness Jessica showed was genuine, or if she was just playing along to match his act. After all, they were supposed to be a couple now. It made sense for Jessica to pretend to be happy when he acted intimately. That's why he couldn't be certain about Jessica's true feelings. Come on, Ethan, seriously? It's been days, and you still haven't confessed. Alex Carter pouted, looking thoroughly exasperated. All right, stop teasing me. Just help me think a good gift. Getting a gift for Jessica Smith was the priority right now. Everything else could wait. Let me think. Alex thought hard for a moment before suggesting, Ethan, how about getting Jessica some makeup? No, that won't work. Ethan had hoped for a better suggestion, but decisively rejected such a generic idea. Exactly. Jessica Smith's loaded. She doesn't need makeup from you, Emily added, rolling her eyes at Alex Carter in exasperation. Well, what do you suggest then? Alex retorted, turning to his girlfriend. Emily frowned in thought for a moment, then looked up at Ethan Thompson. Ethan, maybe you should just get Jessica Smith a necklace? A necklace? Isn't that a bit unoriginal? Ethan questioned, not immediately sold on the idea. He wanted to give Jessica a truly special gift, something unforgettable. Ideally, something with special meaning. A necklace felt too conventional, not really special. Ethan, Jessica Smith's birthday is tonight. You're running out of time. Emily reminded him patiently. Honestly, if Jessica Smith likes you, she'll love whatever you give her. Besides, even if a necklace isn't original, it carries the meaning of affection. You like Jessica Smith, right? Just give her a necklace and see how she reacts. If she likes you, she'll definitely like the necklace too. Well, Ethan was starting to be persuaded. Yeah, he really didn't have much time left to prepare. A necklace might lack originality, but precisely because it's common, many people understand its significance. Plus, a necklace perfectly represented his feelings for Jessica Smith. It was also a good way to gauge Jessica Smith's reaction. All right then, Emily, could you help me pick one out? I don't really know what kind of necklaces girls like. Ethan was finally convinced and decided to take Emily's advice. No time to waste then. Let's go now. Emily grabbed her bag, ready to leave. Time was tight. After all, they didn't have much time to choose a gift. Okay, let's go. Right away, the three of them left Starbucks and headed to a large shopping center, Green Valley Mall. After some careful searching, Ethan finally found a necklace he was satisfied with. It cost nearly $100,000. Alex Carter was stunned watching Ethan casually drop nearly $100,000. Back when Ethan Thompson was with Sarah Young, he lived on less than $1,000 a month and would agonize over taking a taxi for half an hour. But now, with Jessica Smith, he bought a $100,000 necklace without blinking. Alex couldn't help but feel a pang of envy. However, Ethan barely noticed Alex Carter's envy. His attention was entirely focused on the necklace he'd just bought. He didn't know if Jessica would like it, making him feel both expectant and nervous. After buying the necklace, it was only 4 the afternoon. Since it was still early, Ethan made good on his promise and treated them to a steak dinner in a restaurant down the street. The three found a window seat and chatted while they ate. Ethan, relax. Jessica Smith will definitely like your gift. Seeing Ethan still looking preoccupied at the dinner table, Emily couldn't help but shake her head with a wry smile, feeling a bit helpless. She knew what he was thinking. He was just worried Jessica wouldn't like the gift. In her eyes, Ethan's worry was unfounded. Her gut feeling told her Jessica Smith genuinely liked Ethan Thompson. So naturally, she would like the gift too. You think so? I hope you're right. Ethan smiled, still looking a bit unsure. Just then, Alex Carter put down his glass, looked at Ethan Thompson, and said reflectively, Ethan, I think divorcing Sarah Young was the right move. Before, you were like a closed book, quiet, rarely smiling, always looking worn out. But now, after being with Jessica Smith, I feel like you've changed. You smile more, you talk more. There's a light in your eyes again. You seem so much more alive. Alex had witnessed Ethan Thompson's transformation over the past couple of weeks. Right after the divorce, Ethan had been completely dejected, looking utterly heartbroken, as if he had nothing left to live for. But now Ethan was completely different. The Ethan now was confident, bright, and in much better spirits, like a whole new person. All these changes gradually happened after he got together with Jessica Smith. Really, hearing him say that, Ethan Thompson finally realized how much he'd changed. Compared to before, he seemed much more cheerful now. And all these changes were thanks to Jessica Smith. Yeah, Ethan Thompson, I feel like you've changed a lot too. Emily nodded, her expression filled with emotion. The first time she met Ethan Thompson, he was dead drunk and completely lost after his divorce. But the Ethan Thompson now had clearly moved on completely from the shadow of his previous marriage. Ethan Thompson, why don't you take advantage of Jessica Smith's birthday tonight and confess your feelings? Alex Carter suddenly made a bold suggestion, urging him seriously. Confess. Ethan Thompson paused. He had no plans to confess right now. He wasn't entirely sure how Jessica Smith felt yet, and didn't dare make a move rashly. After thinking for a moment, Emily also nodded, seeming to agree. I think it's a good idea too. You already like Jessica Smith, and since it's her birthday today, you could give it a shot. Well, Ethan Thompson looked at the two of them and gently shook his head. Forget it. Just because I like Jessica Smith doesn't mean she likes me back. I'll wait to confess later. Tonight, let's just focus on giving her the gift. Confessing now felt too rushed. Until he was sure how Jessica Smith felt, Ethan Thompson thought it was better to play it safe. Ethan Thompson! Just as the words left Ethan Thompson's mouth, an angry girl's roar suddenly erupted from behind him. Ethan Thompson immediately turned around to see Sarah standing not far away, glaring at him furiously. She was so angry she was grinding her teeth, her chest heaving. Like a Texas tornado, she stared at Ethan Thompson, her eyes practically shooting fire. Olivia stood beside her, looking at Ethan Thompson with righteous indignation. Sarah, Ethan Thompson froze for a second. How could he run into this woman just grabbing a bite to eat? Ethan Thompson, you actually fell for Jessica Smith? Sarah stormed over, her face contorted with anger as she interrogated him. She had just come out to eat with Olivia and had barely entered the restaurant when she saw Ethan Thompson. Then she overheard him admit he liked Jessica Smith and was even thinking about confessing. Sarah couldn't stand it anymore and flew into a rage born of embarrassment. In her mind, she and Ethan Thompson were just on a trial separation. It was all fake. They were supposed to get back together eventually. But now, Ethan Thompson had moved on and fallen for Jessica Smith. How could this happen? Ethan Thompson and Jessica Smith were just in a fake marriage. How could they develop real feelings? And after she had humbled herself twice to ask Ethan Thompson to reconcile, even stooping so low as to kneel and beg him. But Ethan Thompson actually liked Jessica Smith. That was completely unbearable. To her, Ethan Thompson's behavior was nothing short of betrayal. Sarah, what are you doing here? Ethan Thompson frowned, his expression instantly turning sour. Ethan Thompson, tell me, did you fall for Jessica Smith? Sarah glared down at Ethan Thompson, demanding an answer furiously. If looks could kill, Ethan Thompson would have died 1,000 times over by now. Yeah, I like her. So what? Is that a problem? Ethan Thompson scowled. He hated Sarah's condescending and aggressive attitude. He immediately stood up, meeting her gaze without flinching, and admitted his feelings for Jessica Smith outright. Since Sarah had already heard, there was no point in hiding it anymore. Sarah, we're divorced. Who I like has nothing to do with you. Get the hell away from me right now. Just looking at you makes me sick. Ethan Thompson stared at Sarah, who was acting like a total drama queen, his disgust and annoyance unconcealed. At this point, Olivia couldn't stand by any longer and stepped forward to accuse Ethan Thompson. Ethan Thompson, how could you do this? Sarah is just on a trial separation with you. How could you treat her like this? Who the hell are you? What business is it of yours what goes on between her and me? Let me tell you something. If you weren't a woman, I would have slapped you already. Ethan Thompson lashed out at Olivia. It was always this woman, sticking by Sarah's side and annoying him. He'd had enough of her for a long time. Olivia was stunned speechless by his outburst, unsure what to say. She just glared at Ethan Thompson hatefully. Yeah, who Ethan Thompson likes is none of your damn business. You two bitches. Alex Carter stepped up beside Ethan Thompson, looking with disgust at the two Valley girls who had suddenly appeared. Seeing the cold expression on Ethan Thompson's face, Sarah couldn't contain the fury boiling inside her, grinding her teeth so hard they almost broke. Ethan Thompson, who do you think you are? Liking Jessica Smith? Have you even thought about who Jessica Smith is? Her grandfather is an insurance tycoon worth $7.25 million, and Jessica herself is gorgeous. So many men used to chase her. Why on earth would she like you? Why don't you take a good look at yourself? You're just a divorced man now. No money, no house, no skills, and you're not young anymore, already approaching 30. With your prospects, nobody would even want you if you went on blind dates. How dare you like Jessica Smith? How could you dare? Are you delusional, thinking a toad like you can snatch a swan? Sarah, completely consumed by rage and hatred for Ethan Thompson, unleashed a torrent of mockery and scorn upon him. Olivia nodded in agreement, adding her own taunts. Exactly. Ethan Thompson, just look at yourself. Why would someone like Jessica Smith ever like you? She casually drops more on a steak dinner than you make in a month. With your status, how dare you even think about liking her? Who gave you that kind of nerve? A guy like you? Jessica Smith wouldn't look twice at you even if she were blind. I think you should just crawl back to Sarah and forget these unrealistic fantasies. If Jessica Smith found out, she'd definitely laugh at you for being a toad, trying to eat swan meat. Olivia's expression was sharp and mean, her words as nasty as possible, and her eyes looking at Ethan Thompson were filled with contempt. A poor nobody daring to dream of a socialite lifestyle. How delusional. Slap. But the moment the words left her mouth, a sharp slap landed across her face. Olivia clutched her cheek, feeling the stinging pain, and turned to see Ethan Thompson glaring at her, his face dark and menacing. I told you I wanted to slap you. Say one more word. I dare you, Ethan Thompson said, his voice cold as ice, pent-up anger simmering beneath the surface as he stared her down. Olivia opened her mouth, wanting to curse him out, but seeing Ethan Thompson looking ready to fight, she instantly lost her nerve. How could you do this, Ethan Thompson? Olivia's my friend. She was only saying those things for our own good. How could you hit her? Sarah was instantly furious. As she saw it, she and Olivia had tried so hard to talk some sense into Ethan Thompson, to get him to wake up and stop dreaming about punching way above his weight. But Ethan Thompson had actually resorted to violence. This was outrageous. Oh yeah, and you. Ethan Thompson turned to Sarah and slapped her right across the face. Slap. A loud crack echoed through the restaurant. Ethan Thompson, you dare hit me? Sarah clutched her face, eyes wide with disbelief. This was the first time Ethan Thompson had ever laid a hand on her. The old Ethan Thompson would never have dreamed of hitting her, but now he'd actually hit her, and so hard. In that instant, Sarah felt utterly humiliated and enraged, mixed with a deep sense of being wronged. Keep running your mouths, and see if I don't hit you too. Alex Carter stepped forward, rolling up his sleeves and warning the two women, looking ready for a fight. Sarah and Olivia, the two Valley girls, clutched their faces, glaring at them through gritted teeth, angry but not daring to say anything more. Just then, a staff member hurried over. Sir, miss, please leave. If you continue like this, we'll have to call the police. The commotion had already drawn the attention of other diners. People were already pulling out their phones, taking pictures for social media. Luckily, the restaurant wasn't crowded, with only 2 or 3 tables occupied. Ethan Thompson, even if you hit me, Jessica Smith will never like you. You need to face reality. Sarah spat out, shot him a fierce glare, and then turned and stormed off. Olivia glared at them too before following Sarah out. After the 2 women left, Ethan Thompson sighed softly, looking at Alex Carter and Emily with an apologetic expression. Sorry about that. Let me treat you guys to a steak dinner some other time. Let's just call it a day for now. No problem, man. We'll hang out next time. Alex Carter clapped him reassuringly on the shoulder. All right, let's get going, Emily said, picking up her bag and standing beside Alex Carter. After Ethan Thompson paid the bill, the 3 of them left the restaurant together. After a brief farewell, Alex Carter and Emily departed. It was dusk now, the sky growing dark. Ethan Thompson stood on the street under the setting sun, holding the gift box containing the necklace, looking somewhat dejected. Does Jessica Smith really like me? He murmured softly, gazing at the necklace he had so carefully chosen. Before today, he genuinely thought Jessica Smith might like him, at least a little. But Sarah and Olivia's words had been a harsh wake-up call. Yeah, he was just a divorced man with nothing. But Jessica Smith was worth over $100,000 and incredibly beautiful. Why would someone like her fall for him? Unless she was blind. The story of a socialite falling for a poor guy. How could that possibly happen to him? He'd been completely delusional. Ethan Thompson shook his head and chuckled humorlessly, a bitter smile playing on his lips. He suddenly realized that in the 2 weeks since he'd started falling for Jessica Smith, he'd gotten completely carried away, ignoring the harsh realities. Now that Olivia and Sarah had laid those issues bare, he finally saw it clearly. The gap between him and Jessica Smith was enormous. It made sense, really. How could a woman like Jessica Smith possibly like a guy like him? A super socialite like her must have incredibly high standards. Who did he think he was? Nobody special. Ethan Thompson laughed at his own naivety, his foolish dreams, at what a complete joke he was. The sky gradually darkened. He stood there on the deserted street, the dim yellow glow of the streetlight casting long shadows, highlighting his loneliness. From now on, I should just play along with Jessica Smith's act. No more fantasizing. Ethan Thompson shook his head slightly and tossed the gift box casually into his car. It seemed pointless now to give her this gift, this symbol of his feelings. A gift worth over $100,000 might seem incredibly precious to him, but in Jessica Smith's eyes, it was probably nothing. He and she were ultimately from different worlds. Having come to this realization, Ethan Thompson felt a weight lift off his shoulders. Yet, there was still an ache, an emptiness inside, as if a piece of his heart was missing. Ring, ring. Just then his phone rang. He pulled it out and glanced at the screen. Seeing it was Jessica Smith calling, he felt a pang. The thought that he and Jessica Smith could never truly be together made his heart ache. He took a deep breath, trying to compose himself before answering. Hey, Ethan Thompson. Jessica Smith's soft voice came through, tinged with anticipation and nervousness. I sent you an iMessage. Didn't you see it? When are you coming over? She sounded eager for him to come, yet worried he might not. Okay, I'm on my way now, Ethan Thompson replied, his voice calm. If it hadn't been for Sarah and Olivia's confrontation, receiving this call from Jessica Smith would have made him nervous, excited, and full of anticipation. He would have been looking forward to giving her the gift that represented his true feelings. But now, he was unusually composed, because he knew someone like him and someone like Jessica Smith were not destined to be together. But even if she could never like him back, he should still go. He should spend this birthday with her. After all, it was the first birthday he would share with her. After hanging up, Ethan Thompson let out a soft breath, a wistful, lost expression on his face. He looked up at the cool moonlight, then got into his car and started driving, following the navigation directions Jessica Smith had sent. Meanwhile, at a certain garden bistro, it was a music restaurant boasting a huge lawn and a patio seating area. For her planned confession tonight, Jessica Smith had booked the entire venue. Tables laden with drinks and snacks dotted the lawn, illuminated by twinkling fairy lights and flickering candles. Balloons bobbed gently, creating an atmosphere that was both lively and deeply romantic. Jessica Smith, what's wrong? Laura walked over, seeing her friend clutching her phone, looking distracted and anxious. Laura, I feel like something's off with Ethan Thompson, Jessica Smith confessed. She had just spoken to him, and his tone fell. Different. Distant, almost. Okay, stop borrowing trouble. Laura patted her shoulder reassuringly, her expression serious. No matter what happens tonight, just remember to confess properly. Tell him everything you feel for him. Looking into Laura's encouraging eyes, Jessica Smith felt a little calmer and nodded firmly. Yeah, she'd loved Ethan Thompson for 17 years. She couldn't chicken out now. Tonight, she would pour out every ounce of feeling she'd harbored for him all these years. She needed him to understand her heart. She wouldn't hide the emotions she'd kept buried for 17 long years any longer. Starting today, she was going to love Ethan Thompson openly and without reservation. After about 10 minutes, Ethan arrived at the restaurant entrance. The restaurant was quiet, empty of guests, feeling a bit deserted. Mr. Ethan, Jessica asked me to wait for you here. A waiter waiting by the door immediately came forward upon seeing him, asking politely. All right, lead the way. Ethan gave a slight nod and followed the waiter to the lawn behind the restaurant. Compared to the quiet restaurant, this place was bustling with activity. There were many waiters, along with some men and women Ethan didn't recognize, drinking and chatting. These must be Jessica's friends, Ethan thought. Ethan stood outside the crowd and spotted Jessica within it, looking every bit the socialite. Today, Jessica wore a long red dress, exuding an air of elegance and nobility. Her carefully applied, exquisite makeup enhanced her already beautiful features, making her look even more stunningly captivating under the lights. She's so beautiful. The thought couldn't help but cross Ethan's mind. Yeah, how could a girl this beautiful possibly like someone like me? I was definitely dreaming too much back then. Ethan gently shook his head, a bitter look on his face. In that moment, he finally understood just how delusional he had been. Just then, Jessica spotted Ethan from within the crowd. Her eyes instantly lit up, and she rushed over. Ethan, you're here. Jessica's lovely face beamed with a joyful smile. Looking at Ethan, her eyes shone brightly, almost as if they were glowing. Yeah. Ethan offered a small, calm smile. Is something wrong? Jessica paused, her smile slowly fading as she asked with a hint of unease. For some reason, she felt that Ethan seemed different now. Although his gaze was still gentle when he looked at her, there was an inexplicable sense of distance. It's nothing. Happy birthday. Oh, thanks. Jessica's expression stiffened slightly before she managed a faint smile. Now, that feeling of distance was even more apparent. Come on, I'm about to make my wish. Then, Jessica led Ethan over to the enormous red velvet cake. Ethan, you finally made it. You kept us waiting forever. Laura pouted slightly upon seeing Ethan, complaining with mild displeasure. Sorry, I'm late. Ethan simply smiled. All right, Jessica, everyone's here now. Can you make your wish? Yeah, time to make a wish. Several people in the crowd chimed in playfully. Then, witnessed by all her friends, Jessica stood before the huge red velvet cake. closed her eyes with a devout expression and began to make her wish. Ethan, however, just stood behind Jessica, quietly watching her back. He and she were ultimately from two different worlds. He really wasn't good enough for her, Ethan thought silently. Soon, Jessica opened her eyes, apparently finished with her wishes. "Time to cut the red velvet cake," someone exclaimed excitedly. "Wait a second," Jessica suddenly spoke up. As everyone stared blankly, Jessica continued seriously. "I haven't made my third wish yet. Before that, I want to do the most important thing in my life." "What is it?" "Yeah, what's up, Jessica? Why so mysterious?" Her surrounding friends were bewildered, but Jessica paid them no mind. She suddenly turned, her gaze instantly locking onto Ethan. Then, looking at Ethan with newfound determination in her eyes, she strode directly towards him. Everyone was confused, watching Jessica's back uncertainly, unsure of what she was doing. Only Laura wore a slight, excited smile, her eyes gleaming mischievously, her expression full of anticipation. Jessica walked towards Ethan step by step, each one exceedingly firm. She had loved Ethan for 17 years. Today, no matter what, she had to pour out her heart to Ethan. She was going to confess. She didn't want to secretly love Ethan from afar anymore. She wanted to tell Ethan just how much she loved him. Ethan, watching Jessica approach him, was rather puzzled and just watched her quietly. Soon, Jessica stood before Ethan. "What's wrong?" Ethan asked softly, his expression questioning. "Come with me." Jessica didn't elaborate, simply taking his large hand and leading him towards the west side of the lawn. As they arrived, countless colorful fairy lights suddenly illuminated the ground, tables, flower trellises, and walls on the west side of the lawn. Numerous candles were also promptly lit by waiters. The surroundings instantly became dazzling and vibrant. It was only then that Ethan noticed a heart shape laid out in rose petals on the green grass. The atmosphere looked even more romantic. Jessica pulled Ethan along, and they walked right into the heart shape made of rose petals. They stood facing each other, their eyes meeting. In that moment, Ethan realized Jessica's gaze held an undisguised sincerity and fervor. Could it be? She really likes me? At that instant, Ethan's heart stirred inexplicably. "Ethan, I want to tell you a story. Will you listen?" Jessica tilted her face up, her eyes fixed intently on him. Ethan nodded slightly, replying gently, "Go ahead." Jessica took a deep breath, mustered her courage, and declared loudly, "Ethan, I've loved you for 17 years. Her voice was loud, as if she had poured all her strength and courage into those words. As soon as she said it, Ethan froze completely. He could clearly feel his heartbeat instantly quicken. Their friends around them gasped and shrieked, covering their mouths. They had just come for a birthday party, never expecting a confession. It ignited everyone's excitement in an instant. Jessica just stared straight at Ethan, her gaze exceptionally firm, as if in this moment she had shut out the rest of the world, her eyes seeing only him. "Ethan, I've loved you since I was 10, Jessica murmured softly. Just as her words faded, a large screen hanging on a nearby wall conveniently lit up. Then, photos began to play on the screen. Looking at these photos, Ethan was somewhat lost in a daze. These were all pictures of him as a child. There were photos of him at school, photos of his daily life. And he had never even seen these photos before. Clearly, Jessica had secretly taken all these photos when they were younger. She had kept them all these years. "Ethan, you didn't know, did you? I actually started liking you when we were very young. And you never knew that there was a girl secretly loving you from behind the scenes all this time. For you, I went to the same middle school, high school, and university as you. Every day, I'd secretly follow behind you, quietly paying attention to everything about you." And right now, Ethan was still watching the large screen, where photos of him from middle school, high school, and even university gradually appeared. "Ethan, I really, really like you. Actually, I'm not against marriage or anything. I just only ever wanted to marry you. In this lifetime, I don't want to marry anyone but you. I've liked you for 17 years, and I've hidden this feeling for 17 years. Today, I don't want to hide it anymore. Ethan, I really like you so much. So, I want to ask you today, can I be your girlfriend?" Jessica gazed at Ethan's face, at the boy she had liked for 17 years. In this moment, her heart was filled with both anticipation and nervousness. Just then, the photos on the large screen finished playing. Ethan withdrew his gaze, looking at Jessica standing before him, at this stunningly beautiful girl. He smiled. "No," he said softly. Jessica's expression froze instantly. The light in her bright eyes vanished in a heartbeat, dimming completely. "The boy I've liked for 17 years. Am I really never going to have him? Jessica thought bitterly. However, the next moment, Ethan suddenly stepped forward and gently cupped her face. Jessica froze, looking up. Ethan was gazing down at her softly, his eyes holding the tenderness she had longed for 17 years. Have you forgotten? You're already my wife, Ethan said gently. Jessica's eyes flew wide open. Joy instantly flooded them, and an uncontrollable smile spread across her pretty face. The next moment, Ethan leaned in and gently pressed his lips to hers. After a brief moment of shock, Jessica wrapped her arms around Ethan's body and slowly closed her eyes, savoring this precious, hard-won kiss. As she closed her eyes, traitorous tears streamed down from the corners. Wow, they're together. Damn, that's so sweet. So romantic. The surrounding crowd erupted in ecstatic screams. Many girls covered their mouths, watching enviously, murmuring about how sweet it was. In that instant, all eyes were fixed on the two figures locked in a passionate embrace in the center of the gathering. After a long moment, their lips parted. Ethan looked at the girl before him, the corners of his mouth lifting uncontrollably. He hadn't expected Jessica to actually like him. And for 17 years, he had originally thought it was impossible for them to ever be together in this lifetime. He never imagined Jessica would confess to him. Looking at her now, it all felt surreal. Jessica, too, tilted her pretty face up slightly, her large, shimmering eyes gazing tenderly at him. They sparkled as if holding pools of water. An irrepressible, joyful smile spread across her lips. I'm really together with Ethan. Starting today, Ethan is mine. The boy I've liked for 17 years is finally with me. For Jessica, this moment also felt like a dream, but overwhelming joy filled her heart. Ethan, are we really together? Jessica still seemed dazed, feeling how unreal it all was. She stared at Ethan without blinking, as if afraid he might vanish the next second. Of course. Are you thinking of backing out already? Ethan chuckled softly, his eyes showing a hint of fond exasperation, but mostly filled with adoration. The Jessica before him now was his wife. Not fake spouses, but truly husband and wife. I would never back out. Jessica beamed, happier than she could say. With that, she threw herself into Ethan's arms, pressing against his solid, broad chest, inhaling his scent. She felt utterly content. In this moment, she felt like the happiest girl in the world. She wished time could freeze right here, letting her hold Ethan like this forever. Ethan held her soft, fragrant body close, breathing in the faint scent of her perfume. His own heart filled with immense satisfaction. He had already accepted reality, believing he and Jessica were from two different worlds, that they could never be together in this life. But now, here they were. It still felt unreal. It gave Ethan a feeling of drastic ups and downs, making him feel incredibly lucky, like something out of a story. The socialite falling for the poor boy. It actually happened to me. The two stood there on the grass, quietly embracing, savoring this moment of bliss. After some time, Laura approached them. Seeing them still clinging to each other, unwilling to separate, she couldn't help but feel both amused and resigned. All right, you two have been hugging long enough. Time to separate. We need to eat the red velvet cake. Ethan and Jessica, lost in the happiness of their newfound love, were jolted back to reality by Laura's voice. They suddenly remembered they weren't alone. Slightly embarrassed, they pulled apart, but their hands remained tightly clasped, unwilling to let go. You should go make your third wish. Everyone's waiting to cut the red velvet cake. Ethan reminded her softly, looking at Jessica, whose head was slightly bowed, seemingly shy. Jessica looked up, her face flushed crimson, an unstoppable smile gracing her lips, her eyes moist and bright. My third wish has already come true, she said with a smile. Her greatest wish was to be with Ethan. Clearly, that wish had now been granted. Ethan smiled, a gentle warmth spreading through his heart. All right then, let's go cut the red velvet cake. Ethan took Jessica's hand, and amidst the good-natured jeers and whistles from the crowd, they walked to the enormous red velvet cake. Then, Jessica, as the birthday girl, made the first cut. Afterwards, everyone enjoyed the cake, drinks, and conversation. Naturally, Jessica and Ethan, the stars of the birthday party, became the main target of everyone's teasing. Jessica, didn't you always say you were against marriage? Well now, turns out you were fooling us all along. Liked Ethan for 17 years. Yeah, someone talks about never marrying, and then bam, 17 years. TSK. Makes you green with envy. Jessica, you're really something else. So devoted. Who knew you could like someone for 17 years? 17 whole years. Okay, I admit it, I'm jealous. Hearing the teasing, Jessica, sitting beside Ethan, practically buried herself in his arms, clearly embarrassed, the tips of her ears turning red. She had always told her friends she didn't believe in marriage, and everyone had believed her. But today, she had confessed 17 years of feelings for Ethan in front of everyone. It made her feel rather shy, that particular embarrassment of having your deepest secrets revealed. Time ticked by, and soon it was midnight. The birthday party came to an end.